Okay. So this is, do I have a new agenda now? Or I can just use this? No change. I'll just use the staff report, right? No, it's fine. So this is the regularly scheduled Town of Nantucket Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for March 8th, 2018. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as written? Karen moves the motion.
I'll second it.
Lisa seconds it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
How about approval of the minutes of February 1 and February 8th, 2018? That looked okay to me.
The motion.
Okay. Who wants to second that?
I wasn't here for those meetings.
That's
Doesn't
fine.
matter.
No, I mean,
I'll second it.
thanks, Jeffrey. Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Okay. All right, I need, so we're going to move on to 5105, Rugged Scott LLC, Rugged Scott, a.k.a. Beach Plum, 40B, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
5103?
What did I say?
5105.
Yeah, well, that's because I didn't have these glasses on either. Okay, so 5103. Let me get Ilana Quirk on the phone.
So I'm out for this.
Do you need help? Or can you
I
do
did,
this?
yeah, I
I
did.
mean, don't like
Are we
you.
doing, no, we're not calling him Michael, so you can probably.
No, Michael's out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I put down 9, right? Yeah, if you're not in it, on it.
Atlanta Quirk.
Hi, Atlanta, it's Ed Toole. So,
Hey, good afternoon.
thank you. We're here. We're getting going. Okay. So to make a long story short, what we're doing first is going to vote on the matter of Lot 27, which is also known as 8 Blazing Star. And so that's what we're doing. So we can discuss it. We're not taking any public testimony, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's something you can look at if you want. Just sort of lays out some of the facts, or hopefully all of the facts.
There is one additional fact, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to clarify.
Go ahead.
The draft.
Go ahead.
It may be useful for the board to know and perhaps make a finding with respect to the square footage of Lot 27 versus Lot 28. Lot 27 having 0.10 of an acre or 4,181 square feet, and Lot 28 having 0.17 of an acre, 7,367 square feet.
That was lot 28?
Yeah, could you repeat that, please?
418.
Sure. Lot 27 has 0.10
Right.
of an acre, which is 4,181 square feet. And lot 28, the other lot that's at issue here, is 0.17 of an acre, which is equal to 7,367 square feet.
Okay. Thank you.
Just get up the right information on that one. I always take a long time to find the
Okay, this packet has some of the.
details in the back. So we're looking at here's lot 24.
We're just looking for something.
Okay, lot 20. Has anybody else found the paperwork for this particular one?
Well, I think what are you looking for specifically?
I just like to remember the plan.
Here's
Oh,
the
here
plan.
it is. I found it.
Here's the plan.
Oh, you put it all together.
Try to help you out.
No wonder you were late.
So anyway, so we can, the idea here is to first review the draft findings and make a motion to, in essence, make the findings and then move on from there. So, do you want me to read through them and one by one, and we can just, as I said, we can discuss them, but we're not taking public testimony.
Sure.
Okay, so these are potential findings. If we agree, we can modify any of the above. The property in question is an affordable lot created under a 2006 comprehensive permit, which is recorded at Nantucket Registry of Deeds at Book 01010, page 1, 2006 CP. I don't think there's any dispute there, right? The plans approved under, number 2, the plans approved under the 2006 CP did not depict a garage at this property. And if you look in this...
At lot number 28.
At lot number 27.
Right,
It's page 3.
that's
Okay,
correct.
right.
Okay? On June 13, 2008, a modification was approved by the ZBA for the 2006 CP with comprehensive permit and was recorded at Book 1142, pages 1 through 43, 2008 CP modification. I don't think any of those modifications were pertinent to the garage issue.
That was my question as well.
Is that a safe statement, Ilana?
That's the next paragraph?
Well, the 2008 modifications had nothing to do with
Did not show the garage.
the garage. It's just, you're
Right,
just letting me...
The next proposed finding is that it includes a
Got ya.
plan sheet for the property
Got ya.
that would depict a garage.
Got ya. So number 4, the 2008 CP modification included a plan sheet for the property, which did not depict a garage. So again, a copy of the lots 27 site plan of land approved on the 2008 CP modification is attached.
Is that page 3?
That's page 3.
Okay.
So again, even at the modification stage, there was no change.
Correct.
Okay, number 5, on June 6, 2017, Rugged Scott LLC sold the property as an affordable lot for $301,300 with an easement reference that would allow a garage at the property to be used by the owners of Lot 28 Beach Plum, also known as 1 Blue Flag Path, a market rate lot with the owner of Lot 28 to hold an exclusive easement to the garage area and to have an obligation to pay the real estate taxes allocable to the exclusive easement area. A true copy of the relevant portion of the deed is attached as Exhibit 2. So that's in there. And the deed. Okay? Any dispute yet, or any
Nope.
conversation? Okay, number 6, on September 1, 2017, the applicant filed a modification request to modify the 2006 comprehensive permit to allow the property to have a garage located on it and to allow the garage to be used for the sole benefit of Lot 28 Beach Plum, also known as 8 Blue Flag Path, a market rate lot.
And then I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, another finding, number 7, that just sets out the respective square footage of each of the lots, with Lot 27 having .10 of an acre, 4,181 square feet, and Lot 28 having .17 acres of an acre, 7,367 square feet.
Yep.
There's also another correction.
Go ahead.
Lot 28 should be 1 blue
Correct.
flag.
Oh,
One blue flag.
Yeah, it was,
That's what it says.
well, it says 1 blue flag in 5 and 8 blue flag in, so it's 1?
They wanted, yep.
Okay, so number 6 just needs to be changed to 1. So, so the other finding, again, just to repeat what Ms. Cork said, is that we're finding that Lot 27 is .10 of an acre, 4181 square feet, whereas Lot 28 is .17 of an acre, 7367 square feet. So, yeah. So that's sort of where those are I guess, the findings we wanted to make or we want to discuss, or is there any other finding or thing we want to discuss before moving on to a vote? No? Everybody good with those findings? Mm-hmm. Okay. So,
We're not taking any additional public comment.
no.
Oh, no, I don't think.
So, the first motion would be something along the lines, and I'm happy to make the motion. I move that the board vote to approve the draft findings in the 3/16/18 draft decision prepared by town council with the modification of adding number 7 that we discussed as to the finding number 7, yeah. Just adding
Because
7.
that's just to approve the findings.
Correct.
So should I second that?
If you're good with it, yeah. Yes, that was a second? No. Lisa seconded it. Any further discussion on the findings?
Ed, you made the motion?
Yes.
So, one other thing, can we just get the exhibits labeled on the, they're not
Page 3
actually
is
labeled,
Exhibit 1.
so that it just on top says Exhibit 1,
Yeah.
Exhibit 2.
Yeah, this is a draft, so yes.
Yeah.
That will happen. So the deed will be...
Exhibit
Okay.
2, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So did we vote on the finding?
Okay, so, no, we didn't vote yet. So, we've discussed it further. Does anybody else want to add anything else? No? All right, so all those in favor of basically accepting or these findings, or to approve the draft findings, please say aye.
Aye.
Do we need to roll call this one?
You do not unless it's your custom.
It's not. All right, so all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay. All right, so that was 4-1. It's a clear, it's just we're just looking for, well, we're not looking for anything, but a simple majority carries in these cases. All right, so secondly, then, we need to address the issue of the garage on Lot 27 and whether it can be used to serve a lot other than Lot 27. So, having said that, how does everybody feel about that one?
And this garage is proposed, not built.
Garage is proposed and not built. Do you want me to poll everybody? Does anybody want to speak up? Do you want me to just make a motion? What's the pleasure of the board?
I don't, I'm not in favor of granting that motion, so, personally.
Yeah, I have a difficult time with it.
I'm with Jeff on that.
Okay.
Well, I voted nay on the first one, so it's going to be consistent throughout this discussion about this garage.
Okay, so you are in some way,
I'm opposed to the whole concept.
you're opposed to the concept, but,
I'm opposed to the concept of doing this, to burdening an affordable lot with this easement.
okay. All right, so I think I can reasonably make a motion to deny the relief requested to allow the applicant to build build a garage on Lot 27 for the benefit of 28, because of the burdening of an affordable rate lot, which is already undersized, with a garage to serve a market rate lot is inappropriate and would violate the Nantucket zoning code, section 139-2, which requires that any accessory use shall be located on the same lot that it serves, and the applicant did not assert that the denial of this relief would render the project uneconomic. So that would be my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. That was unanimous. All right, I have a little bit of a issue with the notion of, that basically means that obviously the garage cannot be built. I just would like to ask the board how they feel about, and just to be clear, the easement was specific to,
Lot 28.
well, lot 28, but specific to
Sure, lot 28.
the building of, to exclusively use said easement area for the construction, maintenance, repair, and replacement of a driveway and garage thereon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it does not talk about being able to use the easement for anything else other than that. So you certainly can make the argument that by denying the relief in terms of the garage construction, that the easement becomes moot. But it's still there. Arguably, this or any subsequent owner could come back. Yeah, you can always come back, but could come back and ask again, oh, we want to be able to do that. I mean, if we wanted to be crystal clear, every other easement in the subdivision was approved in the comprehensive permit or through a modification. I mean, just in the last few meetings, the applicant came back and we modified some easements. So
Without the garage access, since there's no garage, the question is, do they still have a right to use it as a driveway?
I would say no. It says the replacement of a said easement area for the construction, maintenance, repair, and replacement of a driveway and garage thereon. So I would say no, but again, I'm not a lawyer,
Right.
thankfully.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just interrupt with a comment on that. Certainly, in order to use a driveway on someone else's property in this way, there would need to be a request that the board grant that permission. And my understanding is the only thing that was asked for here was the garage.
Garage and replacement of a driveway. So they would not be able to park the car there, for instance.
Perhaps Eleanor could look at the application for relief. Did it include the driveway? Eleanor, do you know? I thought that it did not. I thought it was just for the garage with access for the garage.
Well, I think the access for the garage is a driveway. There is some portion of driveway you have to cross before you get to the garage. So, again, this is why I would like to speak specifically to the easement and in essence
I would also recommend that you perhaps amend your motion to include the driveway being denied as well to the extent that it's been asked for.
Okay.
The easement does say garage access and use easement, so obviously the driveway is part of that.
I mean, my concern is that there's a cloud here. There's a deed granting this, and then we just made the decision not to allow it. I think it should be cleaned up of record by either filing some type of modification or amendment of some type clarifying that these easements are no longer in force. A termination, essentially. Is that what we're saying?
I don't, I don't know.
Well, what was voted on didn't show any kind of an easement. The original comprehensive permit didn't have a driveway easement, didn't have anything. So that's the only thing that's valid right now. Correct?
I would say yes,
So
that's,
Exhibit 1 is the only thing that's valid in the current comprehensive permit.
right, the easement is still out there, and again, I'm stuck on the fact that we had to approve, or in essence, approve every other easement on this
Correct.
project.
Correct, that's
and-
what I'm saying.
Right.
So if the easement hasn't been approved at all,
They have to modify their deed to reflect,
Or file some type of termination,
Right.
which should we vote on that, or?
I'm unclear as to, whether or not we can compel them to file a termination.
Right.
I would think if we somehow vote on the fact that the easement, well, let me ask you this before I go there. Eleanor, was the relief requested specific to the easement as well?
Relief request was specific to the garage use easement area and the construction of the garage.
Can you read it to me, please?
Applicant proposes to modify, clarify the comp permit as follows. A would clarify cross certification. B would modify management provisions to provide mechanism for certain easement grants, and to the extent necessary, supplement approved site plans to incorporate easement areas now existing upon certain lots, including driveway access for lots 4 and lot 28, irrigation, lots 22 and 25, and garage use easement areas for lots 14, 20, 24, and 27, and C, to supplement the approved site plan for lot 27 to show a garage structure within the garage easement area thereon.
So if I heard you correctly, which is possible I didn't, in one of the first few, it was they specifically asked for a modification as a result to various easements,
Yes,
this being one of them.
correct.
Okay, well, if that's the case, they asked for the relief, acknowledging that the relief, in some way, that the relief was necessary, which I think it was. I don't see why we can't vote specifically, one way or the other, by the way, to allow or to grant the relief
of the,
or deny the relief in terms of imposing an easement on this piece of property.
for use and access, so it could, I would, well,
Any of
use
them.
other than the utilities, obviously.
Well, no, I'm not talking about any other
But the
easement.
utilities take place in that easement as well, don't they?
well,
Or
there's
is it in
the
front of
easement on
it?
the side.
Okay.
No, I mean, it would be specific to the easement as it's shown in what I would term Exhibit B, if you will, or C, or 3, or 4, or whatever number we're on, which is the last page,
Right.
showing the easement and the other easement, I might add, which again, they asked specifically for this other easement, which was to give give the owner of Lot 27 a way to get into his lot and park, because his old easemented area, which had been granted before at the original, or at the original 2006 permit, became useless because it basically went into the garage area. So it seems to me that, the relief we asked for, I feel comfortable, sorry about that, making, again, that we should vote on it. And as to the termination issue, Jim, I mean, I think unfortunately, that would appear to be between the private parties at that point, but I think in my mind, we want to make it clear, one way or the other, the easement's okay, the easement's not okay. How do you feel, Jeff?
Well, haven't we already done that?
Well, we've said that you can't use it for the garage or driveway. But again, there's an easement here which was asked for,
Right.
which I'm assuming they don't really, the applicant doesn't really even want to grant.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm looking at the 2006 plan, which does show a driveway easement going over 27
Correct.
and 28. So the question would be whether the driveway easement that's out there now is necessary to get to 28.
Well, the driveway easement that's proposed is
In a different location.
is in a different location. It's closer, if you will, to Blue Star Road. It was the last,
Blazing Star.
I mean, I'm sorry, yeah, Blazing Star Road,
Yeah.
not Blue Flag Path. So that easement was asked for, relief was asked for to modify the comprehensive permit. And I think we should be explicit as to whether or not we are okay or not okay with these easements.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion for language?
Sure.
You've indicated that there's been a denial of the garage for the benefit of Lot 28, and then at the end of that, you could add, if this is to be a further denial, and to deny the request to incorporate any new easement area shown in the deed on the comprehensive permit plan, so that if there is an underlying easement that's required and it's already out there for the driveway for them to be able to get back there, you wouldn't be saying, no, you can't use that.
Well, we're not saying, right, we're not saying any of the original easements which were on the 2006 CP, I mean, those remain in effect, which allowed, there's a little easement.
What we want to prevent, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the owner of Lot 28 can park his car
Or anything else.
or anything else in that designated area, or use that area.
Right. Well, we just
He
want
will
to
no longer have to pay the taxes on it, right? That goes
be, no,
but
clearly.
if the easement is gone, but that's what we're trying to prevent, right? Or-
Yeah, Mike,
Well, whether or not we're trying to prevent it, we're trying to discuss it and determine whether we want to allow,
Right.
yeah. Yes. Go, Jim.
I'm just concerned that this easement has been granted, and unless we terminate it, there is a cloud there that the owner of 28 could still enforce this easement.
If I might
That's my concern, even though we voted.
piggyback on that, in the initial public hearing on the 14th, you voted as insubstantial that portion of the request that's in the addendum, and I believe as well in the minutes, it was mirrored as item item B. First part of item B was, in terms of modify management provisions to provide mechanism for certain easement grants and to the extent necessary supplement approved site plans to incorporate easement areas now existing upon certain lots, including driveway access pertaining to lots 4 and 28. We approved that as an insubstantial modification. That was the driveway access easement.
All right.
Now, we remember that the Lot 4 one was remanded and that's all changed, but Lot 28 was left. So that's a driveway access. And there are numerous lots in the subdivision that have these because they're small roadways that are essentially serving as driveway to some of the rear lots.
Okay. So what you're telling me, if I'm hearing you correctly, is this little portion of driveway easement on 28 was approved?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
But it has nothing
Not
to,
the big- not
has
the-
nothing to do with the easement in the back. Okay, fair enough. That's something else. I mean, Jim, I hear you, but I don't think there's any clean way to deal with any of these issues within reason, and hopefully the private parties after the fact, if the easement is all but unusable, or not, would move on. And I would think, I would guess, would want to clear up any cloud.
Yeah, although, I would think there's a mechanism whereby the applicant does something more than what we approved, and we should be allowed to compel them to reverse that. It's essentially what we're saying, right?
Yeah, it's the compelling part that I'm
Yeah.
not sure we have the,
Otherwise, the applicant could record anything, and we wouldn't be able to
yeah,
compel them to change it.
I think it was, again, just using a broader brushstroke example, arguably, if you agree with the notion that private landowners can put on easements, put easements on their property that are mutually agreed on, when the developer, not just of this project, but of any project, owns all of the lots, after the comprehensive permit is issued, he or she or they could easement every bit of land away from not every bit, but
Right.
every bit of yard, if you will, away.
Right.
And I don't think that was the intention,
No.
certainly of the ZBA. So that's why I would like to at least get to the bottom and be clear, and if it requires further steps by the applicant and/or the owner of both 27 and 28 to remediate the situation, so be it. I don't think we can, I doubt we can do anything other than act on whether or not the easement is okay by virtue of the comprehensive permit.
As modified.
I mean, basically, we would be making a modification to the comprehensive permit, so that's what
Yeah.
we're voting on, in my opinion.
And this does get recorded, right? This is
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's going to be a confusing issue legally if one were to go to sell it, I assume. But.
Right. I mean, I see it as a modification,
Right.
but it's just not as clear as probably it could be. So,
You see it as a modification to deny, if we were to deny the notion of the easement?
yeah.
Do all these
But,
easements,
what
these
do I-
3 easements, do they all show up on an approved modification
recorded.
of a comprehensive plan at this time?
I think so,
Not the
right?
one in the
No.
back.
No.
Not the
Show
one
it
in the
to me.
Not
back.
the one in the back, but the
I'm talking about all
garage
3.
one.
I'm talking about all
okay.
3. Do they show up as part of an agreed-upon comprehensive modification of a plan that's been endorsed and on record?
I think
I'm
Easy.
going to go
Fill
out.
the plan.
I don't believe that.
Well, this plan
exists.
is of record.
I mean, the whole
Well, it's
plan,
of record,
the whole
but it's-
comprehensive plan.
But it's
plan
not,
is
but
not.
it's not, it's of record, but it's not, it doesn't jibe with the comprehensive permit.
That was approved.
That was approved.
Gotcha. Okay.
And never modified. So this request for a modification, I think we should vote on it. And again, if it creates a sticky situation, it creates a sticky situation, but I think it's a sticky situation that we didn't certainly
Right.
come up with. So,
So we've already voted to deny the construction of a garage. It's just a question of clarifying the use easement,
You voted to deny the request and modify.
to modify the
Right,
comprehensive
to allow it.
plan, to allow
as
the garage.
as it related to the construction of a garage
Yes.
And the garage use easement area.
And the garage use easement
and the garage use easement as it was
proposed.
defined.
Which has the effect of not granting that easement,
Right.
That-
even though
That's
the
where it
easement is
doesn't.
of record.
That's another way to look at it. Yeah, if we think it renders the the easement moot, then we're okay with it.
What does Lana think?
The other one, it's unclear.
Okay.
So, I mean, so what was your language as to, Ilana?
After the words market rate lot, just before, if a denial, to add and to deny the request to incorporate any new easement area shown in the deed to serve the garage on the comprehensive permit plan, which speaks to what you just talked about, which is that there is a plan of record that the parties went ahead and recorded, but it's not to be shown on the comprehensive permit plan.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So would that be a new motion, or it's a modification of the other motion? Or do I want to make a new motion?
You could just move to modify the vote that you just took to add that sentence after a market rate lot
Okay, I'll make that
before
one.
denial, and to deny the request to incorporate any new easement areas shown in the deed for the property to support the garage on the comprehensive permit plan. So in other words, it's not to be shown on the comprehensive permit plan.
Okay. So I'll
You're
make a
okay with
motion
that?
to amend
Yeah.
amend our previous motion.
The previous
vote
We-
to
Right,
reflect this new
To add that.
additional language.
okay. Okay, does anybody want to second that one?
Sure.
I'll second. Oh, go for it.
Okay, Mark out there. Any further discussion on that one?
Yep.
No? So, all those in favor of the modified motion, say aye.
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 All right, I think that's the end of that particular issue, 27, 28.
I would suggest that you at least consider one more motion,
Sure?
because time is short to get the
Oh, yeah.
decision
Yep.
put together and filed with the town clerk's office. The board might want to consider voting to authorize the chair to sign the final decision.
Yeah, so to make a long story short, the 40 days is ticking, although I thought we had 14 days after the vote, just so I'm clear.
Well, I take the conservative view.
Yes.
Certainly, you probably would be okay with the additional 14 days. The problem is that the 40-day deadline is in the statute, Chapter 40B, Section 21, which says that you have 40 days to render your decision. It doesn't say final action, and we have a lot of case law that says final action is filing with the town clerk's office. And we don't have similar litigation over what rendering means. And what I know is that I would prefer not to find out. And so I always recommend that you file within the 40 days so as to avoid the issue.
Okay, so in essence, we have roughly 10 days, 8 days, 10 days, so,
I thought it was Monday. Eleanor could correct me.
I think.
I thought the 40th day was up
Okay.
Monday. Maybe it's a week from Monday.
So,
There you go.
If the count starts on the day the public hearing was closed, it's March 12th.
okay, it's March 12th, so that would be Monday, right?
Okay, that was what I thought.
I'm going off island if there's, if the wind blows for the next 3 days and I don't come back, I'm going to, let's make a motion that, are you here?
I'm here.
Yeah, that either the chair, or you're the vice chair, correct?
I think so. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, or the vice chair can
Sign it.
sign on the board's behalf.
I make that motion.
Is that kosher, Alana?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so Jim made that motion,
I'll second.
Mark seconds it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Thank you. Okay.
Done with the line.
No, I don't think so, right?
So-
He's going to be on with the other ones?
Yeah, so now we need to move on to, for lack of a better term, the other three, which are Lot 20, 14,
20, and 24.
24. Yeah, so this is a continuation of the public hearing, so we are taking public testimony. Arthur?
Correct. For the record, Arthur Reed, representing the applicant. We are requesting now the withdrawal of our request with regard to lots 14 and 20. With regard to lot 20, as you know, we've been able to work out a settlement with the affected parties, which doesn't involve any modification of the permit. The garage, in fact, is being removed from lot 20. As to lot 14, upon review, the garage in that location, in an easement, as a garage that would be not used by the owner of the lot, but would, as shown as being within an easement, was approved by the board back in 2007. So we don't need any relief with regard to it, and are therefore withdrawing our request on that lot as well. That leaves lot 24. And on lot 24, we believed and reported to the board, and I believe it was confirmed by the lot owner at that time, in fact it was confirmed by the lot owner at that time, that we had reached a settlement through the attorney, David Glaude, who was representing the owner of that lot. Mr. Glaude also represented the owner of lot 20. Subsequent to that, the owner of lot 24 informed the board that she was no longer being represented by Mr. Glaude, and did not go forward with the settlement that we had reached. And at the last meeting, if you'll recall, there was a question as to whether the hearing should be closed with regard to that lot, and she consulted with the attorney who had she was in touch with at that point, who said that it should be kept open, and you kept it open. She subsequently has gone forward with another lawyer, James Timmons, who has notified the board of that, I believe, as of yesterday, and then today has informed Eleanor and me that he was going to be unable to attend today's meeting, which he had intended to do because of the difficulty with boat cancellations and so on in getting to the island. And I believe his client is here today, and in any event, he would like to see the matter continued, I believe. Well, we're not requesting a continuance, but we have no objection to it, for the purpose of enabling further discussions to take place. And as I say, we have no objection to it being continued for that purpose. Mr. Timmons says he would plan to come to the island and meet with us and attempt to make a final resolution. We'll see how that all works out, but if we can salvage some settlement, so much the better.
Okay, thank you. So why don't we just take them 1, 2, 3. 24, lot 24.
Can I just ask, Mr. Chairman, perhaps Eleanor wants to check on the deadline for action on the one that's being continued, just to make sure that you have enough time?
June 11th. June 11th, so sounds like we have enough time. That's June 11th to close the public hearing, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So it sounds like that particular one, lot 24, the applicant would like to continue, heard the reasons. Are we okay with that?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Lisa makes a motion to continue to the April, what's that date?
14th?
12.
12th? April 12th, 1 o'clock.
Hold on.
I think that's right, yeah.
April 12th.
April 12th, 1 o'clock here.
Which one, I'm sorry?
Lot 24. So Lisa made the motion to continue. Will somebody, let me ask you, does anybody in the audience want to speak about the idea of continuing? No. Okay, so, having said that, Lisa made a motion to continue to April 20th, 1 o'clock.
I'll second that.
April 12th, lot?
24.
Lot 24.
Not April 20th.
At the same location, right?
Same location.
I second that.
Jim seconded it. Okay, any further discussion? No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. All right, so, taking it numerically, Lot 20, also known as 10 Wood Lily, you would like to, in essence, have us close the public hearing.
No, we were asking that we withdraw the
Are you-
They're
application.
withdrawing.
You're withdrawing that one, correct?
Mr. Chairman, under the 40B rules,
Yeah?
there's a specific provision that provides that an applicant shall have the right at any time to withdraw its request for a change and rely upon the previously issued permit.
Okay, which, again, just to be clear, renders the easement put in place as moot. It will not, because it was not on the comprehensive permit plan.
And that wasn't one of the ones that we modified through.
Or Arthur, let me ask you this, are you going to file some, or record some sort of termination of easement, or whatever Jim referred to earlier on?
Yes.
Can we, I don't know, if I heard you correctly, we can't really condition the notion of a withdrawal.
He has the right, they have the right to withdraw at any time and rely upon the prior permit, but certainly the board can urge the developer to extinguish the easements that now are no longer necessary or appropriate.
And that certainly is part of the settlement that we've worked out with Mr. Glaude and his clients.
Okay. Having said that, are we comfortable with that?
I think so.
So all we're voting on is whether or not to, they can withdraw as a matter of right. So are we
I would
really,
recommend, Mr. Chairman, that there be a vote to acknowledge the request to withdraw, and I would recommend that the request to withdraw be in writing, even if it's just handwriting right now, to so that it's part of the record, and then that would be your acknowledgement of that would then be filed with would be part of your record, but you would also file it with the town clerk. So if Attorney Reed could just note on a piece of paper that
we got it.
We've got it.
They have it.
handed it in.
I'll read it.
Okay.
On behalf of my client, Rugged Scott LLC, please be advised that the applicant hereby withdraws its request to supplement the approved site plans to incorporate existing garage easement areas located on each of lots 14 and 20. All right, so we didn't specifically talk about 14, but since
Same issue.
it says that, again, they have the right to withdraw. So.
So do we,
Do we want these as separate motions for any particular housekeeping?
Do we want it as a separate issue, Alana, for housekeeping purposes?
I can propose a motion if that's helpful.
Sure.
Okay. The motion would be to move to acknowledge and I assume it's dated today, the March 8, 2018 request to withdraw the modifications requested for lots 14 and 20 under 760 CMR 560511C.
Works for me. Do you want to make that motion?
Sure.
Okay.
that sounds good.
All right, so the motion has been made. Who seconded it? Jeffrey seconded it. Again, this is to withdraw again, 14 and 20 requests. Okay. So motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that was unanimous. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then there's something at the beginning, right, adding spas?
Oh, well, that's new business.
Oh, got it.
I think. That's, if I'm correct, is that, I'm asking, is that it for old business?
It is not, there's one more
So that is,
A
right,
new modification request.
Yeah, these are the
yeah,
ingress spots.
yeah, I see that. Why wouldn't that be new business, just out of curiosity?
Because Roger Scott is an old application, it's not the way I've been doing it all along.
Okay. All right, so
Chairman, do you want me to stay on the line for this one, or?
you might as well. I don't think it'll be long, if you don't mind. So 50.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So, okay, we did that. We did that. Okay, so we're on to the new modification request, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Why doesn't the applicant tell us what they would like to do?
Yes, good afternoon. Chris Humphrey for the applicant, Rugged Scott. This is a request for a minor modification to the comp permit to allow spas on lots 32, 35, and 36. We also had made a request to do a modification to the pool to add steps. We would like to withdraw that application at this time to allow us to further conduct alternative designs or consider alternative designs. So this is, and the other final application is to a minor modification to change the parking configuration on lot 34
And to move the spot.
and to relocate the spot. Thank you, Alder.
All right.
Where was the spa? Well, I'm going to look at them all individually.
The spa was located approximately 10 feet, I believe, in another portion of the lot. This just reconfigures it to make it more suitable with the revised landscape plan.
And has the HDC approved these modifications at this time?
It's my understanding that this board has jurisdiction to approve these, and the HDC doesn't consider.
All right, I think that's the way we handled it last time.
These lots are still owned by the developer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who came specifically to talk about this modification, which is essentially adding in-ground spas to 3 lots, 32, 35, and 36, and relocating?
Excuse me, I think you need to make the determination whether it's substantial or insubstantial.
Before we go to the audience? Okay.
Well, yeah, if it's insubstantial, you don't go to the audience.
Got you. Thank
Are
you.
these all market rate lots?
Yes,
for the
they are.
spas?
Okay. Having said that, well, how do we,
These are the plans. Look for the
right,
plans.
well, I got it.
28 starts on page 20.
Is there,
Okay, I will say this, back in the day, there were seemingly some waivers as to zoning setbacks. Do the spas all meet the zoning setback?
Yes, none of the spas will be located in the setback.
Okay. So I'm looking at 36. It's in the back corner where the garage used to be, so there's no garage on that? Am I looking at that correctly?
Correct.
That's correct. Same thing on lot 32.
What pages are those?
But in my thingy, it's page 28, 29, et cetera.
of what?
Well,
Packet one.
packet 1, which is the old packet,
It's in the beginning of
the one that
packet
says,
The beginning of that.
Yeah, even though it's under.
yeah,
28, 20.
you got packet 1?
Mhm.
I guess I don't have any, these are totally in-ground.
No, they're not. They're raised.
Oh, really?
Says in ground.
Well, one
The
of them's
cross-section
raised.
looks-
35 is raised,
Okay.
and 36 is raised.
The spas will be similar to what was installed at 2 Woodley, and they will be flush spas. That is perhaps a typo on the plan itself.
Yeah, because 36 does show it raised.
Yeah, these two show them raised, the other two show them
I don't
flush.
know that that's a big deal. and it's-
No, I just was
Yeah.
correcting you from, that they're not all flush.
I hear
Or maybe
you.
they're all supposed to be flush.
Yes, I'll have to consult our landscape architect on that. It's my understanding that they would be flush, similar to the design that was approved on 2 Woodlily.
Okay. Yeah, two are showed that way, the other two are raised.
And none of the spas are visible from the roadway or other lots. There's going to be a lot of landscape added to the yards.
Doesn't, it's not telling us.
You guys find them?
Yeah, but
Where are they located?
Yeah, it shows it. Is there any issue with
okay, yeah.
further differentiating between
Market rates.
market rate and affordable rate units by adding, I mean, we've already approved a couple spas, but is that an issue we need to be concerned with?
The only physical issue that I can think of that you might want to inquire about when you're adding, whether it's garages or spas or anything physical on the parcels, is as to whether the drainage calculations that you had, will allow for whatever additional impervious surfaces is going to result. I don't know if that was a concern with this or not. Perhaps there was
That was the question.
an excess provided for, but if not, you might want to ask.
Okay.
I don't know. We haven't done any additional surface runoff calculations. We don't believe that surface runoff is even an issue with this. It certainly hasn't been at 2 Woodlily that was previously approved. And I thought the chairman's question was relating to a market rate versus affordables and how that may impact this, which we don't believe that it does.
Well, I guess, I don't necessarily agree or disagree, but I don't know that, to your point, that the landscape plans, which were originally approved, 10-to-1 didn't show all of the patio area either. And I didn't sit on it. I don't know, but I don't see it. I mean, that would all be part of the drainage calculation. I mean, within reason, are you, from a building code standpoint, you're supposed to take care of your own water on each lot. You're not supposed to shed it onto your neighbor one way or the other. I mean, I would think the drainage issue would have been more for the overall subdivision. But how does everyone else feel about that?
I don't think it's an issue.
Go ahead.
Was that a question for me or?
Well, it was a question for anybody who wanted to speak up. I don't think anybody, go ahead.
Usually the pre and post drainage calculations, take into account in a dense development like this what the envelopes are going to be, what the impervious surface is going to be like, and if the drainage system, whether it's above ground, below ground, however, it's whatever it's rooted to, has a certain capacity, and it may be that it was contemplated, well, you can add a garage here, you can add impervious surface there, patios, sidewalks, and so forth. If that's the case, then that's fine. But that's the only issue that I would see. I see no difference between a market rate versus an affordable to have one of these amenities. That's for sure. So the only question I would have would be a technical one as to whether there was any restriction with respect to the amount of impervious surface that could be allowed within the project, so as not to overburden whatever stormwater drainage infrastructure was approved and put into place.
I mean, it's a fair question. Do we want to take a look at it or ask the applicant just to come back with that information or not?
It's insubstantial as far as.
Yeah, based on what I hear, I would say I would vote, it's insubstantial,
Okay.
the way it is.
All right. Jeffrey, how do you feel about it?
I think it's insubstantial. I think I'm okay with it.
Okay. I do think that, well,
I think
moving forward in the future for the next chairman and board, you know, the landscape plans should indeed be part of what's going on. So anybody should think of that ahead of time, but I don't think that
I think you're right, but I think the landscape, the plans that were approved didn't show really any degree of landscape stuff.
well, but then arguably it was all pervious, and now some large percentage of it is impervious. I'm not saying you can't handle it either. I don't know. I'm not saying that, you know, again, I'm willing to move on, though, if the majority is insubstantial. Thinks it's insubstantial, so.
I just have a question.
Go ahead.
If somebody that already owns a lot wants to come in and put a spine, do they have to come back here? A personal owner, because these are also owned by the developer.
It's a good question. If a owner, market or affordable, you know, not the developer, but a new owner wants to put in a spa or an addition or a garage, they have to come. They have to come to us.
They have to come back to us.
Yes.
Anything that changes the comprehensive permit.
Excuse me, but the permit.
Right, because it's not shown on the plan
Comprehensive
as a new
permit
structure or a new amenity that's not already shown on the plan.
Comprehensive permit provides that certain structures, such as garages, decks, fences, I can't go through the whole list here, I don't have it memorized, don't have to come back to the board. They need to be approved by the homeowners association and HDC.
Well, if you specifically provided for that in your comprehensive permit, then that would control.
Yeah. You'd still have to get a building permit, though, correct?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't, but in the building department, we'll look at any issues, but.
No, I'm just
I'm not
curious.
really sure what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're good. Lisa just was curious. But obviously, spas are not part of that, otherwise you wouldn't be here, of that list.
I can't remember the exact wording, but I think it would probably fall into that. I think there's something in there about other structures that would render impervious. Sheds.
Well, why would you come here then and ask for the relief if
Because you keep denying us.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe
we denied you once or twice, but I wouldn't say keep denying you. I think that's an exaggeration, but that's just me.
There's no CO with these lots.
Anyway, I appreciate the fact you came and asked for permission. I'm just curious. So, how do we feel about it?
It's fine, sounds like majority feels like it's insubstantial.
Okay. So, let's just be 100% clear, because we've erred in the past. We are not talking about the community pool steps, correct?
Correct.
And the reconfiguration of driveway from stacked to side-by-side is also part of the request?
Yes.
And that was on 34. I don't, it seems
fine.
to be fine with me. Yeah, I see it. I got it.
Mr. Chairman, was the withdrawal of the steps to the pool, was that in writing? Do you have that for the record?
It has not been in writing, but we can submit it in writing.
Can I ask you a question why that is? There was a particular owner who was pretty aggrieved by the fact that the new pool did not have steps. And
We're looking at the feasibility of adding those steps, but our pool designer is looking at different options and seeing if it is indeed feasible. This is an infinity edge pool that has various underground tanks. So, and it's a small area where that pool is. So we have to fully determine whether it is indeed possible.
So you made the request not really knowing that it was possible?
We
Just
have
curious.
additional our pool designer came back with additional concerns and questions. So at this point, we thought it was be prudent to withdraw that request until we get all of the required information.
do you intend to somehow satisfy this property owner's concerns?
That would be up to the developer. I have no idea.
I mean, again, they're within their rights to, I believe.
We can certainly withdraw it.
To withdraw it, correct? I mean,
Yeah?
Yes, I would recommend that it be just a quick writing.
could you just scribble
Your record's
something?
clear.
Yeah. I hear you, Jeffrey, but, you know,
My assumption is the pool has to be accessible.
yeah, I don't
In
understand.
way, shape, or form.
The pool has a handicapped accessible chair.
Right.
And this went through design approvals, and
Mhm.
this one particular homeowner, I guess, had raised some concerns, but
They can use
It seems odd not to have steps, I have to say.
this is a semi-public pool, so it's
Yeah.
difficult to, you
Dangerous.
can't have steps in the swim area, which is why the design was set up the way it was with handrails. This isn't just like a standard private pool, so there are limitations.
Interesting. Okay. So back to what we're going to vote on. Installation of in-ground spa on 32, 35, 36, 34, and 34B is the reconfiguration of the driveway from stack to side-by-side. So all we're determining now is substantial or insubstantial. So if anybody wants to make a motion, feel free.
I'll make the motion that the changes are insubstantial.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
Jim seconds it. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Okay.
And you got the withdrawal?
So,
Will you scribble a withdrawal, please? Marianne, did you do that? Marianne's going to do that. So do we need to vote separately on the withdrawal? Probably, right?
You just acknowledge the withdrawal
Okay.
again under 760 CMR 560511.
All right, Jeffrey, will you make that motion?
I will.
To acknowledge the withdrawal that they're submitting in writing?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Will you pass that down to Eleanor, please? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think that is the end of Rugged Scott for the day. Right? So now, we are on, as I think I told everybody, I have to leave soon, but stick around for this one. Okay, so,
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to hang on?
no, I think we're good. I appreciate your help, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
And I will revise 27 and send the decision for lot 27 and send that over to Eleanor.
Okay, right, and that, the idea being to sign that by Monday, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Sign and file.
Signed and filed, so, okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks
Bye.
a lot.
Okay, moving on. Yeah, 2716, Scott B. Payton, Kristen S. Payton, 33 Orange Street, Brescher, for the I didn't mean to say Brescher, for the applicant, Mr. Brescher. I'm just reading.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. For the applicant's attorney, John Brescher. Wait for Miss.
Oh, we're waiting for Susan, my bad. You know, while we're waiting, we can, okay. Just going to get something out of the way.
I don't think our board is sitting on this? I don't think yet. Well, yes, we do.
Yeah, it's old business.
Well, we're sitting, but there was no specific voting board at the time. Both Jim and Jeff were at the table. Mark had a conflict. So, and Michael's not here. So, he's out for now. Okay? So, for the applicant, the esteemed
Attorney
Mr.
John Brescher
Brescher.
for the applicant Scott B. Patton and Kristen S. Patton. As we mentioned, this application was originally opened in August. We did not have enough information for the board. And finally, at long last, our clients have engaged Woodmeister Builders, and we have provided the board with a construction methodology for the proposed work. Just to refresh the board's memory, What we have here is a special permit request under Section 13933A to alter a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling. Specifically, they'll be adding a basement and extending off the back of the structure. And as such, a portion of the work is going to take place within the northerly side yard setback, but the dwelling is not going to be any closer to the side yard lot line than the existing structure as a result of the proposed work. The lot is undersized for ROH. It's 4,002 square feet. It's a lot of record. The dwelling is non-conforming with respect to setbacks, being 0.3 feet from this northerly lot line in a district that requires a 5-foot setback. There's a shed that's as close as 0.6 feet from the westerly lot line and 0.4 feet from the southerly lot line, but nothing's going to happen to the shed. It's not going to be altered as a result of this work. Structures are grandfathered because they've been in existence since prior to the adoption of the zoning bylaw. And as a result of the proposed alterations, the project will and the property will still be under the allowed 50% ground cover. Specifically, the applicants are proposing to alter the structure by southerly and westerly expanding the westernmost portion of the structure, adding an addition to it, and adding a basement to it. We've submitted surveys. Originally, we have HTC approval, and now we have a solid construction methodology. I did not submit this to the board, but I let Eleanor know that Woodmeister is engaging McCardle Gannon Associates as an engineer. I believe there will be a site visit tomorrow just to ascertain everything and make sure everything is fine for the survey. Matthew Galvin from Woodmeister is here to answer any questions as it relates to the methodology and the construction. But at the end of the day, what we're saying is that because the alterations do not increase the non-conforming nature of the structure because they are not getting any closer to the lot line, special permit relief may be granted because the resulting structure will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing nonconformities. There was an abutter at our initial public hearing, and I have circulated the construction methodology and all the information to him as well, just so that he's kept in the loop with everything. So please, if you have any questions for me or for Matthew, please just let us know.
Okay.
It says that you've retained McCardle, but you don't show, as per request, see the attached the following professional services agreement we have in place. How come you didn't include that, Joe?
Jeff, because it was 17 pages and it wasn't signed, I have copies for the board here that I'm more than happy to submit for the record, of course.
So the only portion of the house that gets removed is the shed in the back and the stairs. Is that correct?
My understanding is that it's just the rear, the existing 2 floors.
The whole back wing gets off? It gets taken off? Gets knocked down and demolished?
Correct. It's raised and then reconstructed in the same footprint.
Yeah, you can see that I think the ridge height changes by
The whole thing's coming off?
foot.
Yeah, it surprises me that the HGC would allow that. But,
Maybe it wasn't as old.
no, the rear L's are always pretty old. And then the other thing is, so there is further encroachment, not into the setback, but because the shed is single story in that area right now, and it's going to a 2-story mass.
The shed.
The shed addition, not to be distinct from the shed that's in the other corner of the property. That's currently
Stairs.
8 feet tall, and then this new wing that gets added at the, I don't know if these are the elevations, 21 feet 9 inches.
Right.
Just to point that out, that there is 2-story encroachment into the setback, even though the first floor is already there.
Yep.
And then the rest of the addition looks like it's all outside of the setback, is that correct? There's no dimension from on the survey that shows the distance from the rear property line to that, from the side property line to the back corner of the addition.
Correct.
But I'm assuming that's conforming?
That's correct. Everything else will be outside the setback. And that's right. Although there is additional massing within the setback, it will not be any closer to the lot line than what exists.
I mean, I don't see how you do it with 3 or 4 inches, but to spare. But I don't really understand why you wouldn't just move that if you're raising it.
That's the neighbor's house.
How does everyone feel about what's going on there? Are we number one comfortable with the? The construction methodology is fairly generic.
Well, it's generic, but it's it doesn't mean a whole lot to me to have two different contracts and neither one of them are
The way
signed.
that they have it.
How come you don't have an agreement?
We've got an agreement with Wayne McCardle to come on. There are multiple proposals. We've got a time and a materials agreement with him right now, so that in terms of all of his scope that's listed there is not necessarily satisfied. We don't have him retained for the entire scope, as it may not be possible to access the site to do all of the boring necessary and to get some of the machinery on site for that. So he may have to go through other methodology. So the entire retention in Ernst that's listed as a means of his scope is not completely discovered yet. So on a time and materials...
Yeah, but you don't have any deal with them. There's nothing that's telling me that you've actually retained McGardle.
Well, we didn't. I took off some of the numbers, et cetera, on his private document, as I thought that was as a trade.
Well, I think barring the exact contract, would you be satisfied with a letter from McCardle saying
something.
We have a contract?
Something that has to say that McCardle's going to supervise this work. Absolutely.
Okay, how do we feel about, I assume, well, let me ask, is this a full basement under the new, the raised section?
Yes.
I don't see how you do that with .03. I think what we've done in the past is asked that when it's that tight, that you undermine and
well, you underpin. And,
underpin.
What they may, but that's up to that's up to these guys. That's up to the professionals. If McCardle feels that he can put a full basement wall right up to the edge of the foundation, then he'll let them do that. If it's not going to work, he won't.
Without affecting the neighbor's property.
Yeah.
So they don't even have to dig beyond that.
You don't actually have to. It's kind of tricky if you're doing it 8 or 10 feet high.
How do you pour the wall?
You can underpin.
Well, you
pour against the soil.
Oh, yeah,
and how do you
yeah.
do the footing? You dig out under?
You don't do a footing. You just, you do it. You just.
The wall's thick
doable.
enough
you do it all
to.
from underneath. It's much harder to do it deeper, but so that's why quite often they'll sort of step it in a little bit. They'll put a.
All right, so would it be fair to say...
It's got to be something that's... McCardle's going to supervise.
Okay, so would it be fair to say we want to see something signed from McCardle stating that he is supervising and, more than somebody is taking responsibility for this, and a redacted contract that, we don't care about the pricing, but we certainly care about the scope. So if it's listed in there and it's not real, that doesn't help us too much. So also, I think that we should see.
I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm sure you contacted McCardle, and McCardle's
I have a meeting with him.
Proposal, but nobody signed it. You don't have a deal with him.
The other thing is, I think that taking that a step further, when you're .03 from the lot line, it should be more than Mr. McCardle is taking full responsibility. We should see what he's proposing, just so everybody's on the same page. Not that we are interested in getting into the detail, but if for some bizarre reason, it shows excavation into the neighbor's property
Right.
without an agreement, we don't want to sign off on that, is what it boils down to.
And I think in the past, we have required seeing.
No, these are fairly rudimentary plans we have. I mean, they're, again, I'm not talking about, well, I am sort of talking about engineered plans. I mean, you're going to have them anyway.
Right.
I mean, McCardle will come up with a plan. I'm not sure it's our business to review his construction plan. I mean,
Not to review his construction plan as much as to just see, okay, they're underpinning it. Somebody has come up with a plan. It's not going to be, some guys in there saying, hey, let's just dig this hole.
I mean, we're talking about professional engineers. They're not going to agree
Yeah,
to.
believe me. Yeah, that's my point. So I think if there's a plan done by the professional, I'm not talking about getting into the exact nitty-gritty, but let's at least have a plan.
We required that before, but I can't remember which one was it, Kite Hill or one of
Kite Hill.
those?
Kite
I
Hill.
mean,
Yeah.
Have the neighbors at all, the abutting neighbors, have they piped up
So-
about, their
One.
foundation?
the direct abutter, right?
Yeah, he was here.
So 2 Martins Lane is one of our clients, and I was, in fact, in their house, and they're absolutely have no problem with it, Mr. Lachelle. So he wants to just have assurances and understandings about what we're discussing here. And so the major portion of that foundation, it's a step back, there's a section drawing in the structural that shows a frost wall that runs to the westerly extent of his foundation, so that the actual disruption will not be quite as deep down to that 8 foot. The only section that will be to that depth is beyond on the westerly direction for the full stairwell that goes upstairs.
Okay,
So
but
it's a very-
we don't have that material, so it's hard for us to,
The structural drawings.
we don't have the structural drawings.
Okay.
In Martin's Lane. which
That's
is-
what we're asked, that's what I'm saying. If we had those, we would have a better.
Was that the gentleman that was here in the previous hearings?
That's right, Lisa. He's the one that we've been in contact with, and he does not seem to object to the proposal or the work at this point.
Well, we'd like to see that in writing too, probably.
He has been CC'd in all the emails.
I know, but this thing has been going on forever, and the war of attrition is, it's not generally fair to the abutters. I'm not saying that's what's going on.
So if I could just speak to the signed concern about the signed agreement, that at the time of the submissions for the materials of this meeting, that in earnest was not executed. It is now executed. I was not aware that that signed document, I should have, so my apologies to the board for not coming with that, but that is in place, and in fact, pre-construction surveys to the abutters, those notifications have been sent out by Wayne McCardle, so if that transaction execution there in that document is satisfactory to the board, that guy is retained, Wayne McCardle then.
Yeah, and I'd feel comfortable at least taking a look at the structurals as they relate to, it's shallower here and deeper there. Yeah? No?
I mean, it would be nice to see that, but
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
going to hang my hat on that. You need to produce these documents for a building permit application as well,
Yeah.
so.
That's my point. I mean, it's not like we're asking for something that isn't going to be produced.
I'm happy to produce the shoring details without restraint.
Did you have your hand up? Or you just, no, never mind. Okay, is anybody in the audience want to talk about this? No. Well, they're not going to start before Memorial Day anyway at this point, so I think it's safe to continue to April 8th, yeah? And get,
April 12th. April
Approve an extension as well, deadline, which John.
April 12th.
okay, April 12th, thank you.
Is that when it is, April 12th?
So does somebody want to make, do you get a sense of what we'd like?
If I'm hearing you correctly, Mr. Chairman, basically we're looking at not only some sort of engagement letter or signed contract with Mr. McCardle, but whatever we can provide relative to sort of structural engineering drawings, whether they be for this property or the abutter's property, or just something else, something in addition to alleviate any concerns from the board that this project can in fact occur in the way that we're anticipating it to.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just a engagement letter, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, you don't want just to, I mean...
I don't
they're-
know, I don't have a problem with an engagement letter.
Okay, you're gonna-
I'm familiar with Mr. McCardle, I'm familiar with what he does, and he's not gonna get involved in this thing,
If it's not,
and he's not gonna supervise the work unless he's going to design a system that he's comfortable with. So I don't necessarily have to need that, but we don't,
well, but
at this
most,
point, we don't even have that.
yeah, I guess what I'm saying is the engagement letter should at least go into some detail as to what he's doing.
The construction methodology.
Not the methodology, but I've been hired to do, you know, X, Y, and Z, not I've been hired, period.
Mr. Chairman, are you looking for scope of services?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Certainly. Okay. We good with that? Susan?
Yeah.
Okay. You good for now?
And maybe if McCardle hasn't had a chance to do full designs, maybe you want to have him come to the meeting possibly. And
It's a
if he
month.
stands up and explains himself, the chairman will cut him a little slack.
I think it's better to have it all in writing. So, don't go there.
Susan, you mentioned Kite Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some,
They
their
got
material was helpful.
Yeah.
So you
It's
might
not
want
s-
to use that as an example.
I'm not saying, it probably
And
make...
John, you were the applicant, so you've been down this road.
I've done my
before, right?
best to block it from my memory, but thank you.
All right, so let's move on. Let's get a, who wants to make a motion?
To continue it until April 12th
Yes.
with the information you requested.
Well, ideally, they bring that. If they don't, yes. That doesn't have to be, we're just continuing, yes.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
make a motion.
Continue to April 12th. Karen seconds. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Karen made the who made
Karen.
the Karen.
Thank you.
No, Karen seconded it.
Yeah.
Lisa?
I made the motion.
All right. I think in the interest of safety, I'll do the next one. It's easy. Stephen, 4017, Stephen Cohen trustee, Mac Shack Trust and Mac Daddy Trust. 68, right. We should just talk about it. They're making a request to withdraw without prejudice.
Because they have a new business application.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this application is being replaced by a much simpler application that only affects one property, so we've decided to withdraw the current application and apply with a cleaner one, which is later in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So does anybody have a problem with that?
Nope.
No? Somebody make a motion then, please.
I'll make a motion to accept the withdrawal without prejudice.
Second. And just out of curiosity, do we get all those types of things, like a request to withdraw? Is that quote-unquote in writing, or is this adequate?
He emailed me this morning,
Okay.
so I have it in writing,
Thank you.
and I will file the withdrawal tomorrow.
Thank you. All right. So motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I think, yeah,
You want to,
I think I'm gonna,
what time are you on the boat?
not for a while, but I gotta go find the glasses I couldn't find, so I can see.
Okay.
All right?
So did we need to do anything with that?
What is this?
That was
Oh.
draft decision maybe?
Oh,
But I think it has to be updated.
yeah, I think, we're not signing this, correct?
No, you're not.
I signed the other two. I don't know if everyone did.
One other one somewhere.
There is?
There is.
First.
All right, so,
Good luck.
thanks. Hopefully I'll come back and see only one of everybody.
Be safe to drive on the roads again.
Oh, for it.
Where are you going in?
I have to get some eye surgery. I see double.
Couldn't use a better excuse, huh?
We may have an issue for a quorum with 01 and Keene. We do have an issue.
Right, what is it?
That's 5 Nantucket Avenue.
That-
Lisa and Susan have conflicts.
You want to do that now?
Michael wasn't here for that. And he's not here today, and you sat.
They only have 3.
I don't think Susan does.
Okay. I mean, if you're, yeah, because I'm not, it's up to you.
No, it's up to you.
I'm fine with it. I just sort of did it for.
Yeah, no, I think we're all set.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so
But
you're
that's
good?
that's still 4 people,
Okay.
right?
No, it's 5 if you take Ed's place.
Ed, Lisa,
Are you ready?
Karen?
No, because Lisa's
Sorry.
not here
Jeff.
and Michael's not here. It's still 4.
All right. Steve, do you want, can we take that one first?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so who am I pushing out of the way?
Where are we?
I'm just taking Lisa's spot in the sitting.
It has an open.
So I should be asking Arthur. Do you mind if we go out of our order, Arthur?
And Mark, you can sit on this one, right?
Good. That was my intention. All right, so let's keep moving. 0118, Trillium 88 LLC, 5 Nantucket Avenue, for the applicant.
Okay. Stephen Cohen for the applicants, and I apologize for not having this sooner, but it was just approved at the HDC on Tuesday. So, like I said, Stephen Cohen for the applicant. I think you'll recall this is an application to alter a pre-existing non-conforming structure and to have a special permit for the ground cover overage. There already is an existing ground cover overage, and I know the board is aware that there's a bylaw that allows for additional ground cover overage based on special permit for those pre-existing non-conforming situations. So the last time we were here, the neighbors were here asking to support this application, and the reason is essentially that my client could build a large 2-story house that would be ground cover conforming but would block their views of the water, and my client is willing to have a narrower second story, a more modest second story, to preserve those view corridors, but in order to do that they'd like to have a slightly larger house. The neighbor is selling my client an 8-foot strip of land, so that allows us to get some additional ground cover, except because it was already pre-existing non-conforming, the new ground cover only makes it conforming. So we're looking for you to take that into account and give us some credit for this land that's adding ground cover that's not otherwise creating ground cover due to the situation. So what it basically boils down to is the requests that we heard from the board last time were to get the building out of the setback, which we have managed, which was not originally proposed, but now we've managed to do, and to come back with a smaller building if we could figure out how to make the footprint smaller. So if you look at the sort of the bottom of the document that I gave you on the top, it just shows that what we have done is reduced the request by 25% approximately. So if you look at the type of ground cover we were looking for, we were attributing 160 square feet of that to the land that's being picked up. We were attributing 114 square feet of that to the building that's being eliminated, the ancillary structure, and then the rest, 200 and something square feet, was just the ask. And so we have eliminated 103 square feet of that. So we are now looking for a smaller increase and offering to both conform to the zoning setbacks and to have the smaller structure. And I think the board last time wanted to make sure that if this permit was granted in any way that we would be able to get that through the HDC. So I'm happy to say that it was approved on Tuesday as submitted to you.
Okay, thank you. Just while I'm getting my thoughts together, does anybody in the audience want to talk about this one? No. Does anybody have any comments on the board? How much you're getting an additional 536 square feet?
Of land, yes.
Yes. Which would provide an additional 161 square feet?
Yes.
So, and how much are you asking for in total?
392.
I don't get it, but.
So, like I said, the original building the existing lot has a footprint of 2,037 square feet allowed, but there's 193 square feet in the main structure and 114 square feet in the secondary structure, so there's 270 square feet of structure that's over the allowed ground cover. What we're looking to do here is to eliminate the ancillary structure at 114 square feet to get some credit for the 536 square feet that we're buying at 160 square feet. And then that leaves 118 square feet that is essentially just the ask. That number was previously over 250 square feet, so we have eliminated, almost 250 square feet. We've eliminated more than 100 square feet of that ask.
Okay.
And we've eliminated the setback intrusions. I'd also remind you, although I think you're aware, I'm just going to say it for the record, that this is not a variance request, it's a special permit request. So the standard essentially is this substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood? And I would suggest that it's not, because actually the neighbors are advocating for it, and the HDC has approved it, and the setback intrusion, there are zoning benefits in the setback intrusion being cured. Yeah.
You're now asking for 1, 3, 9, 3, 2.
I'm not asking for it.
You are, as opposed to A4. I'm sorry, A1. So this is the one where you ask for overage, but your zoning compliant in terms of other.
Yeah.
This one.
What was your concern about this, the last meeting?
No, my concern was just, typically we don't give extra ground cover. You certainly could make the argument by virtue of making the second floor smaller. It's not more detrimental to the neighborhood. Clearly, we'd have to, in my opinion, condition it with, no further expansion upward.
I think we talked about that, too.
We did see something fairly similar, although I think it was a bigger ask in a bigger lot in a more wide open area in Monomoy. And I don't think we ever specifically denied it. It went away finally.
I think that, Mr. Chairman, that one in Monomoy was a different situation. It was an undersized lot. It had other situations. This is actually an oversized lot, although in this area, because it's on the corner of Lincoln Circle there, it's in a neighborhood of fairly substantial houses. And to your point about having a restriction in place that says that part of the ground cover overage is based on the limitation on the second story, I think that's an appropriate. It would be silly for you to give us grant the ground cover overage, and then we just go up, all around. So clearly, a condition that locked that in place would make sense, and a condition that there's no additional expansion without relief from the board would be acceptable as well.
The other alternative is just to shave 118 feet off the building?
Correct. Well, no, we'd have to do more because...
I'm saying if we were to see our way to, with your fuzzy math, to take this and get more for the credit for the new land seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
And to say, you could, even though in essence it's not a matter of right, but that would seem reasonable. And then if you're giving up the shed, there's a shed, I don't have a...
Yeah, if you look at the page that shows the site plan, the gray underneath...
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
Shows it there. It was in the prior submission,
yeah,
but it's underneath the other one. It's in the setback as well.
I don't think it would be that big a deal to shave 118. It's... But whatever. How does everyone else feel about this? I don't want to spend too much time on it.
I don't have any issue with it. I think the applicant's kind of gone out of their way to try and appease the neighbors as much as possible through the design of the house, through the addition of some extra land. I mean, there's some other options this guy has here, and I think this is probably the best one.
Okay. Mark?
No issues.
Does anyone else?
All good with it.
Okay, so who wants to make a motion
I'll make a motion to approve the relief.
with the condition of,
And some sort of a condition that there's no additional upstairs expansion.
Do we condition that on the HDC certificate of appropriateness
well,
And a
that,
new survey plan?
and a new survey?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
a new survey?
And no work, and no constructions.
I would caution you to get a survey when the foundation goes in,
Mhm.
since you're making the point that all the other violations are cured.
Mhm.
So we would prefer not to see you back here. Oh, it's only 2 inches.
This plan has a little wiggle room, but I appreciate the point.
Not much.
By the way, your voices are great today.
I was going to say, I didn't know Stephen sounded
I'm
like
looking
that.
for an encore career.
It's always good to be mocked.
That wasn't specific to you, Stephen. It was to any applicant. So what else? Timing?
Timing, I think at least the timing should be in there for sure.
So the Memorial Day to
Labor.
Labor Day? Okay.
So I just want to make sure it's timing, limiting the second floor based on the HCC plans, and we'll submit some numbers with that, and then the survey, and curing the setback, and
Well, no further expansion.
no further
without,
expansion. Right, those 5.
Without relief.
I think that's all fine.
And they don't get the shed back.
No, they don't get the shed back.
Yeah, you don't get the shed back.
I think that's covered under no further expansion.
Well, let's put it in there.
Yeah, let's make it number 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, that's fine.
Okay.
No,
Okay. So is that your motion?
That's it.
Who wants to second that?
Second.
All right, so, Jim, since you didn't speak up on this one, you're not voting, okay?
Yep.
Fair enough. So all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Nay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Okay, so I think Lisa's coming back to be in her role as vice chair, but if not, Susan can take over.
What was the one that we skipped? Oh, I see.
Sid?
I see, I see.
Where you get your surgery? Oh,
Palm Beach.
NASA, I need your.
I was just there the other day
Oh, yeah?
for Jeffrey. Yeah.
Anything good?
Adenoids.
What?
Adenoids. He's got to get them out.
Hang on, I just have to go back, right?
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
This was.
Thanks.
I took this out.
Good luck, Edward.
Thank you. Good luck.
See
Bye,
you
Ed.
later.
See you Monday.
Here, it's this one, right?
Or you won't see me,
Yes.
I'll see you.
Yeah.
Oh, Eleanor.
This is application number 48-17 for Kristen Engel, 90 Pockmo Road.
And for the applicant, Attorney Arthur Reed, you may recall that this application involves the iconic Nantucket landmark known as the Gamble House.
Oh, yeah.
The word I thought you were going to use.
Well, there are many words. In any event, this is, as you recall, an application to move the house back because of the continuing erosion of the coastal bank at Pockama Point. We've been in on 2 previous occasions with this application and have gone back to the drawing board. Specifically, the house is at the present time 30.7 feet above average mean grade, of course 30 being the maximum. and it's over on ground cover. We believe that the ground cover issue came up as a result of the continuing erosion, and it would have met the 3% at the time that the house was originally built. And what we're proposing is to move the house back without any change in the ground cover. And the application called for it to be at exactly the same height above sea level that it is at the present time. Actually, there was a typo in the application. It said that it was 64.9 feet above the half-tide datum, and the correct figure, which Paul Santos, our surveyor, has pointed out, is 65.8. In any event, the concept was to keep the house the same elevation, and the height above average mean grade, however, would increase, as would the height of the highest side, as a result of the change in topography of the area where it's being moved to. The area where it is now being more level than the area where it would be moved back. And again, you expressed some concerns about the increase, even though there wasn't going to be an increase in absolute height. So we've gone back to the drawing board, and our landscape designer, David Barch, has provided Paul and me and our architect, Chip Webster, with materials that now involve being able to drop the house down with some grade changes in landscape retaining wall, by 3 feet, so that the roof height, the peak of the roof, will be 3 feet lower above half-tide datum than it is at the present time. The topography of the site, however, results in resulting in an increase in the height above average mean grade. Specifically, we will go from 30.7. We had applied to go to 34 feet, and the calculation, as Paul has worked it out, would now be 32 feet. We'd be 32 feet above average mean grade, and the highest side, which would be on the application 38.5, is now dropping down to 35.5. We think that this is a substantial improvement over what had been proposed, and it's really about the most we can do with the site. Again, the roof peak being 3 feet below where it is now, which we hope would be would indicate that this application, on which the standard is a special permit, is whether it's substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. We think that this would clearly result in it being not only not substantially more detrimental, but in fact not detrimental at all, and to be considered as being a benefit. Paul is here with me, as is Chip Webster, to answer any questions that you have, but that's what we are proposing. The site plan would remain the same as far as the house location is concerned. We just got the materials on this within the last couple of days from David Barch, and so Paul has not yet had an opportunity to draw a new plan that would show the landscaping features that result in this being the elevation, but he'll prepare that, and we'll be able to have it ready to be attached to the decision when that's filed.
So can we just clarify the numbers? So the originally proposed finished floor was at what elevation?
What's
the originally proposed finished floor, once you moved it back, was at what elevation?
Same as the original house.
Yeah, which was what?
We always dealt with the application, the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveying.
I can't read any of these numbers, so.
We have a finished floor number that we discussed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the existing
Yeah.
finished, it's not in the application, but the existing finished floor is elevation 38.5.
And then, so you're suggesting to put it at 35.5, the finished floor.
Correct. And the
Okay.
existing peak is at 65.8,
65.8, and that'll be going down
3
to,
feet.
62.8.
and then the building height is still over 30 feet because of because of the height average.
Because the average mean grade, yeah. The relationship between the first floor and the peak does not change. The surrounding grade around the structure does not change at the end of the day. It's the fact that we're moving it to a lower point in the lot. It's the average mean grade, really, calculation that changes.
And the current structure and the current condition is over
Correct.
the
Yeah,
elevation
exactly.
restriction.
So have you moved it closer to the road, or is it just, you're just sinking it down a little bit more?
No, it's moved closer to the road and away from the coastal
I
bay.
meant from our previous.
From the previous application, the
Just-
position is in the same spot.
You're
It's just been lowered.
Dropping it.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions? No? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this?
So you're through HTC with these modifications?
Chip Webster on behalf, yes, we have HCC approval for everything.
Do you have a
Even the landscaping plan?
Landscaping.
Oh, so that could have come to the meeting today then?
Yeah. The landscaping approval for the steps.
Well, if it's been approved, then it means the plan's available.
Didn't they have it
Plan here
approved
today.
No.
before?
They didn't have the,
No, it wasn't the landscape.
it wasn't the landscape. Remember, we had a lot of concerns about these steps.
Yeah, but the
The building is approved at the higher
building height
elevation.
was previously approved at 3 feet higher.
That's right. But we were questioning whether or not they had approved, the HCC
The-
had understood the steps
The hardscape.
required to get
The
the
hardscape.
hardscaping.
Right.
So we, again, Chip Webster. So we have HCC approval for the original thing that we came in, which was the building the same height. We also have HCC approval for lowering the building, and we have HCC approval for the hardscaping.
See, that's what we'd like to have seen today.
Relative to
There
the
was,
lower height,
I'm sorry?
relative to the lower height, HTC.
Correct.
The land-
Okay, I'm 90% sure. David Barch, the landscape architect, was one who handled that. I could either give him a quick call right now and verify that, or you can make that condition, we'll provide it with the,
I mean, obviously, we have to have HTC approval anyway.
Yeah.
No, it's all about the landscaping component because it was not approved the last time we sat here.
Yeah.
And discussed all the steps and
Well,
machinations.
no,
yeah, I'm sorry.
Is not approved the right term? I mean, HTC approved,
The HTC had not approved
They haven't
hardscaping
approved the landscape.
last time we sat here at this meeting.
But do we care about that now since the building's being dropped down?
I don't.
I don't really
I
either.
don't.
Yeah.
It's
Because-
only gonna get better
because-
with the thing being lowered.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
there has to be
So
some, there has to be
less
some
walls.
hardscaping, and it's going to
Yeah.
be approved by HGC, and that's their purview, not ours. So we could. It was a bit. I know it was a concern last
It
time.
was definitely a concern
Yeah.
last time because of the number of steps you're going to need and but with removal of 3 feet in height, that's going to cut the
that makes a huge
6 steps out of it. Yep. Okay.
Chip, do you know what the steps look like now? Are they less?
You see the sunrise. The sunset.
Yeah.
We have that. It doesn't,
I know, but
doesn't
it's so
really-
So as far as, I believe there were 6-inch risers, so if we've gone down 3 feet, we would have eliminated 6 steps.
And there were how many before? Do we think?
I don't know. They haven't really changed the.
And it's probably also worth pointing out, if any, probably a lot of you are familiar with the house, as it currently sits, there are 4-foot stone walls in front. The whole house, when it was built on a giant plinth. So the resulting hardscaping is much softer or easier than it sits as it is today. So I think it's worth pointing that out as well.
Okay.
So what is the pleasure of the board?
I'm going to make a motion to approve.
I asked, I
relief.
think, I did ask the audience already, didn't I? Nobody's.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. I appreciate the.
Yeah.
I'll make a
The
motion to
30 feet.
approve the relief as requested. I think it's a much, much, much better.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for listening.
3 feet's a lot, that's terrific.
Yeah. I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's a first and second. All those in favor? Who's voting? Sorry, do you want to just do? Jim, are you on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aye.
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 Karen, so it's Lisa, Karen, Mark, Jeff.
I didn't vote
Susan.
because there are 5 people sitting here at the table.
Because I sat on it last time, right?
Yeah, whoever
I sat on it last time as well. I was at the table.
I was at the table too.
It says that,
Oh, you don't have me?
says that Ed Toole, Lisa, Karen, Mark, and Jeff.
Oh, then I won't
No
vote.
Susan.
It's a good idea.
Can you vote?
I vote aye.
Okay.
That's a relief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lisa, Karen,
No.
Mark, Jeff,
No,
Jeff.
I'm the only one who didn't vote.
Ed? So who's taking Ed's place? Lisa, Karen, Mark, Jeff, and Jim was at the table, so Jim's voting for it.
Susan, I think you weren't here, you couldn't be here when it was open.
I feel like I sat for this discussion.
It's been here twice,
Yeah,
right? This is the
I
third
sat at one.
meeting.
I sat
You
at
sat
one,
at one of them, probably.
but whatever. It's fine.
Okay, so I think we're on to new business, is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, I did second the
should we
motion, so we should
revote?
redo it. Sorry.
Okay, Jeff, you want to make,
Yeah.
yeah. Somebody needs to second the
I
motion.
move to approve. Who wants to second? For that one you just voted on.
Susan had seconded it by accident, now she's not voting.
Okay, I
Second.
second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye,
I must have sat on the first one and missed the second
Yeah.
one.
aye.
Sorry
Okay,
about that.
Oh, that's okay. So the next, we're on to new business. The next application is 0518 John R. Hendricks and Greer K. Hendricks, 1 Jefferson Lane. For the applicant, Mr. Bracken.
Don Bracken from Bracken Engineering. Also with me is Matt McKecker, the architect for the project. The property is an existing non-conforming lot, has 3,626 square feet, 5,000 is required in the district, complies with frontage at over 68 feet. On the property is an existing non-conforming structure that has a current rear yard setback at 1.1 feet and a side yard setback at 2.2 feet. The proposed project consists of constructing a new separate single-family dwelling on the west side of the lot and raising the existing structure, which is on the east side of the lot, and constructing a smaller studio-type structure, one-story structure. There's already a building permit issued for the main house, so the application is focused on the studio. The studio itself, the main structure, will meet the 5-foot setbacks from rear and side. So the main structure itself will be conforming as opposed to the existing non-conforming structure. The studio is built with a slab floor system on the front portion and a crawl space floor system on the rear portion. What we're asking for is to place an areaway at the rear of the property to access the crawl space. The distance to the areaway will be the same as the existing structure at 1.7 feet. I've reviewed the plans with Marcus. That's how we determined that we were going to need the special permit. Because it's a crawl space access typically does not have to meet the setback, but because the crawl space is going to be just under 6 feet 6 inches, we are proposing stairs in this access way to get down into the crawl space. His determination was because there are stairs inside the access way, that would be considered a structure, also relating to the new definition of a structure with a staircase with more than 2 steps. So therefore, that's why the application was submitted, so that basically we get the stairs in the access way to the crawl space. The studio is approved through HDC as well. Obviously, the access way will be close to flush to the ground. The applicant feels that this will make the existing structure obviously more non-conforming and less detrimental to the neighborhood.
I just want to clarify, too, you said it's actually improving because currently the structure is 1.1 feet from the back property line, and you're going to 1.7.
Correct, yeah, I saw you're right. It is actually improving. Yeah.
There was one letter. just one letter? Yeah.
Is the crawl space access part of the foundation?
It will be, yes.
So it's concrete integral to the foundation?
Yes, it will be, yeah. And also the outdoor shower is within the setback, along with a small deck attached to it.
You know, could you have moved the building forward a little bit to kind of cure all those setback?
Right now with the two proposed parking spaces,
Yeah.
There's really not really much room to do that. The structure itself is only 330 square feet. You know, in discussing it with the client, we said you could put a grate over it and have a ladder to get down for access, but, you know, he doesn't want to be able to use it for storage, so he was willing to, you know, go through the application process to get the steps rather than have a ladder.
Is there anybody in the audience that can speak?
Stephen Cohen, I represent the abutter to the rear at 53 Fair. And my client initially had some significant concerns, but they're actually, upon reviewing the application, have decided that they're okay with it, with two conditions that they'd like to propose. One is that their concern is they don't want a taller building in the setback, so as long as there's a setback intrusion, that the structure should remain one story. And if the applicant wants to go to 2 stories, they should cure the setback intrusion. And secondly, that because there's going to be significant excavation near the property line, that proper steps should be taken to protect the hedges, the fence, and other issues in the area. And I know the board has some conditions that it's used in the past for that issue. So those are it. Just that make sure that this doesn't blow up taller later. Thank you.
And I just want to confirm with Don, the structure itself, where the roof is actually outside of the setback.
The proposed structure, yes.
Yes, it's only the areaway that is within the setback.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, because that's not clear on the plan, and I guess I would like to make that clear on your plan, that the building itself is not within the setback.
I mean, we could identify that a little
Okay.
clearer on the plan. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you see this?
Yeah, I did see that. That's the
Thank you.
So that's,
that he's talking about. I mean, it's getting better, I think,
Yeah.
for him.
I think what he's saying is this,
It's this guy. 4 Lion Street?
yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't an improvement for him? That's why I was confused when he sent these photos.
With the shower, yeah.
Right.
There is an architectural plan in the file, too, if you look at it clinically, shows the difference.
Well, we're just looking at the letter.
I think he's saying this, right?
No, I think it's talking about the building that sits here now. It says, "We welcome decreasing the intrusion. However, the current cottage extended by our longtime neighbors, the Kearneys, is not parallel to our lot, which runs on an angle and has a jut out further to the west."
The front corner of the cottage is 3 feet 10 inches from our fence where there is the outdoor shower.
I think it's a little closer than 3 feet 10 inches, isn't it?
I mean, it looks, and this is what's proposed?
That's what's proposed,
That looks
yeah.
way better.
It is.
It's better. I just wish you could cure everything.
Oh, I think,
with it.
never mind, I'm sorry. I'm
If
looking
if
at
I
this.
may,
Yeah, I see where it is. It's here. That's
and-
shaded. So the outdoor showers, sorry, I'm just showing.
Sorry, I just want to make sure we address the concerns
There's
of this
the
neighbor.
outdoor shower right
Right.
there. We're looking at the whole shaded section of what's to be taken down.
There's a, I don't know if it makes any difference.
Yeah.
So, but it still
I responded to that
gets,
gentleman and explained to him, and sent the application.
Explain
Mhm.
that, yeah.
Even his wife, for that. Send the application, as I always do, I always send people the full application, because most people don't live here and don't have a chance to look at it. And I said, what, just so you understand, look at the architectural plans, I told them what page they were on, this is getting further away,
Yeah.
the massing of the structure is compliant with the 5-foot setback, it's the areaway, which is more or less
Mhm.
a grade, that's going to be a little bit further from your lot line than what is there
Mhm.
now, and I did not hear back from them.
Great.
okay.
I mean, I think that was the only question. So,
Yeah, okay.
um,
That was the only
again, my
letter.
only request is that we put a dimension from the setback to the actual structure in addition to the areaway, so that we're clear that we're not blessing the building being, under this application, we're not blessing the building being within the side yard setback.
Sure.
Does anybody
That's
agree or
right.
disagree?
I agree
or-
with that.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion? Any other comments?
All motioned out to that.
So the proposed, Jim, I think you hit on that point. How come everything's not, you might, I mean, do you have the space to conform here? It looks like it, no?
Not with the parking
Maybe you
space.
should,
Yeah,
You
but
have
that-
to do like stacked parking or something.
And you couldn't put that on the west side of that studio, the areaway?
It just made more sense, given the width and the way it's broken up. That's the only access point is in the back, because the crawl space is in the back and the slab is in the front.
And the only thing you could do is move this studio further west and put the access on the east side. Yeah,
Yeah.
further out, so you'd have to shift the building 5 feet more into the yard.
And I'm sure they want that
20-foot
yard.
standard, the 20-foot driveway length?
For 2 spaces, it's like 18
Right.
by, the length is, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm,
9 by
because you
20.
could push it, that's what I was saying, more toward Jefferson Lane, the structure.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah. I don't really have an issue with it, just
Yeah.
because it's a below-grade structure.
yeah.
It seems like a reasonable request, considering that the massing is moving further away from the
If
property
it
line.
didn't have steps, it wouldn't need relief.
Exactly.
Correct, we wouldn't be
Yeah,
here.
so,
yeah.
right, so.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
What is,
I'm okay with it.
you want to make a motion?
Sure. I mean, does anyone else have anything to say?
And you have the concerns that
Yeah.
Stephen brought up, yeah.
And we're addressing that with the dimension shown on the plan, right, from the setback to the structure, showing that it's curing, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will make a motion to grant the relief as requested with the,
Say, per the HTC approved plans, show a single story structure.
Mm-hmm.
what was that?
Per the
Say
HGC.
per the HTC, in substantial compliance with the HTC approved, are those HTC approved?
Yes.
Yeah.
That are in the HTC approved plans that show a single story.
Okay. What she said, but that doesn't show the dimension that we're requiring.
No, that's part one.
Okay, and then showing a dimension from the setback to the structure, showing that you cure the setback, and then our normal conditions for taking care of the neighbors,
Property.
hedge, property.
And then, is this?
Probably hours of construction.
Yeah, in time.
Oh, yeah, and time of
frame.
construction, so excluding Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Right.
Okay.
For exterior construction.
Right. Anything
And
else? And hardscaping?
We always condition hardscaping as well.
Because those saws are so terrible.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not voting.
You didn't vote?
I vote.
Okay.
Thought an
Okay,
opposed
so
came
5-0.
out of your mouth.
Thank you.
Thought I heard an opposed from you.
Okay, so,
Okay.
Mark, you did not say
I voted.
that? You did. So.
Jeff did not vote.
Jeff, yeah.
okay, so this is application 0618, Stephen E. Phillip and Carrie A. Phillip for the applicant.
For the applicant's attorney, Arthur Reed. This is a matter that was before the board in a different context a little while ago out in Tom Nevers. My clients, Stephen and Carrie Phillip, who are here with me today, owned property that was bisected by Coffin Road. Coffin Road had always been shown on land court plans going back to the turn of the 20th century, but it took on a different life when the planning board approved the Wrights Landing subdivision, and the roadway was constructed as a subdivision control approved roadway through the Phillips' property up to the point of the subdivision roadway itself of Wright's Landing. And the result was that under the definitions under the zoning bylaw, the portion of the Phillips property lying to the west of Coffin Road and to the south of the Wright's Landing property couldn't be considered as being part of the same lot anymore, so effectively was made into a separate lot inadvertently or as a result, in any event, of the town's action in creating the Wright's Landing subdivision.
When did this happen, Arthur?
What
year did this happen?
The Wright's Landing subdivision, I don't have it right here, but it was about 15 years ago, I'd say.
Well, there was the Van Fleet, that was 88, and then Wright's was, I think, 90-something.
Yeah, I think, so actually, time flies. It must be about 20 years now that Wright's Landing was done. And that had the effect of cutting it off. And you, at that time, when we were in here a few months back, or a year ago, whenever it was, granted a variance to confirm that the effect of that was, in fact, to create this as a separate lot and that it would be a buildable lot. The question has now come up about the available ground cover. Marcus was unable to issue a building permit for a house of approximately 1,495 square feet. We'd been operating under the assumption that 1,500 square feet would be available, as it is for lots of record. But the language in the bylaw is not clear on the point, and so Marcus did not issue the building permit application, and we appealed from his denial, technically, and also are applying for a variance in order to, one way or another, get it established that we would be able to have the, I won't say God-given, but bylaw-given or traditional minimum ground cover of 1,500, up to 1,500 square feet. As I say, Mr. and Mrs. Phillip are here. They're year-round island residents. She actually works for me. He's a builder on the island. They have 2 children, and they planning to stay there for the long haul and want to have a reasonable, reasonably sized house for their family.
Okay, thank you. Which lot did we just recently grant so is this lot?
It was this, it was this little one.
This one.
Well, what we're talking about is the lot that was
The triangular piece?
Granted relief, yeah.
You also
1027.
6 Marcus Way, just to the south of
yeah, which was in the same situation.
Right.
Arthur, why do you think it should be 1,500 square feet? What's the basis?
Well, 1,500 is the amount that a lot of record is given under the bylaw. An undersized lot of record is given 1,500 square feet on any lot of more than 5,000 square feet under the bylaw. Now, is this a lot of record? It was created basically as a result of the town's action,
right,
and the operation of the definitions under the bylaw in terms of the definition of street, which it became, Coffin Road became, and lot, which can't be on 2 sides of a street. So, and it wasn't a subdivision that was being applied for by anybody as far as this lot was concerned. It was the result of the geometry and layout of the situation and the conversion of Coffin Road into a subdivision control approved roadway by the planning board. And we'd be the ground cover would be 3%. We'd be at approximately 1,050. It's about 35,000 square foot lot, a little over that. So we'd be a little over 1,050 square feet, and we want to go to just under 1,500.
there anybody in the audience to speak to this one?
I would comment, by the way, that you had a couple of letters, but I think they were mainly concerned about the possible increase in, intensity out in the area, and that this would be a precursor to other attempts to have further intensity. And in fact, this is an extremely unique situation. Very, very, very different from, this and the adjacent lot are the only ones that would in any way be affected by any of this.
If this lot existed not as the result of what happened with the subdivision, 35,000 square feet, what would be allowed? Would Marcus still interpret it that way if it was in the Lug 3?
It's in Lug 3. The zoning in Lug 3 is 3% ground cover. That's where the 1,050 square feet comes from. If it's treated as being a lot of record, and effectively the town created it as a lot of record by, even though it was done after zoning came into effect, by the effect of the subdivision plan of Wright's Landing, the result would be, once again, that's where the 1,500 would come from as a lot of record. And again, that we have, all through Tom Nevers, you have tons and tons of properties that are undersized, and every one of those lots is allowed 1,500 square feet, and that's the way the area has generally been developed.
Okay. And Marcus just didn't.
Well, the bylaw isn't clear on the point, Jim. Okay. I don't blame Marcus for.
And there weren't two existing lots. It was one existing lot.
There was one existing lot.
I remember this case.
And it was created not by the applicant or the applicant's predecessor, but by the town.
Yeah, and that's. I would generally agree with you, Arthur. If this lot was not created this way but existed in that area, they would be entitled to 1,500 square feet.
What do you think? I mean, what is
I'm just trying to figure out the cleanest way to either sustain the appeal or we do it by variance.
Well, let's look at it another way. If we're doing it by variance, it's the shape of the lot, in my estimation, that's posing part of the problem.
I agree.
Yeah, the original lot had
It was a very odd shape.
very unusual shape with the situation of Coffin Road and the Curtis Wright property, which became Wright's Landing, sticking into it.
Yeah, I can't personally see it being called a lot of record. That's a stretch.
Yeah,
but
that's my point.
I can potentially see it falling under a variance relief by virtue of one of those standards, whether it's topography, shape of the lot, some other features. I can see my way to.
Right.
Yeah, and we're amenable.
favorably upon this.
We're amenable to taking it either way, obviously.
Right. Well, I do agree with you that, I mean, I can't see any way of calling it a lot of record. It was created, so I think I would agree with Marcus's determination. So we would do number 1, and then consider the request for variance relief.
Yes, you have 2 motions.
Correct.
And how does everybody feel? I mean, do we have to discuss that, or does that make sense to everybody?
I think that makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's creating anything new or different that already happens out in Tom Nevers. I mean, these small
Right.
lots, very small lots.
Yeah, and
That are allowed 1,500 square feet of ground cover.
Right.
I agree.
There is a little.
This is not new and different.
There is a note on the staff report that says that the board may want to consider imposing restrictions as to the buildability, i.e. no further expansion without further relief from the board, and no zoning sheds to address the density concerns of the neighbors. Further, any curb cut for the future driveway serving the lot has to be sited a minimum of 25 feet from the intersection of Coffin and Rice Landing roads. Board should request that any future curb cut be as far from the intersection with the Wright's Landing roadway as possible to avoid a blind corner. How do you guys feel about sort of restricting the buildability?
Well, isn't it restricted by virtue of the variance?
It is, but they could have a zoning.
They could have a zoning shed.
Oh, okay.
And they can also take it up to 1,500.
Yeah,
feet.
the
Get
actual
a whole
driveway.
other five, are they at 1495?
1495, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, 14.
The,
Don't mind them having a zoning shed.
The driveway, we have no problem with the driveway entrance. It's the sketch plan that we're working from at the present time would have it be a considerable distance down from Wright's Landing. And as far as any further expansion is concerned, I mean, we wouldn't have any justification for asking for any more than that anyway.
Just double.
Yeah.
Right. Right. How do you guys feel about the zoning shed? Do you have an issue with them having a zoning shed? Given that there are other lots out there that are undersized and are allowed to have them?
I don't, just because that is sort of how, this is a common situation in Tom Nevers.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
I mean, I get the neighbor's concern, but I don't think the zoning shed makes the difference.
So then we need some motions if people are prepared to make a motion. One would be it sounds like the way that we want to do this is to uphold Marcus.
So we have to make a motion to uphold the zoning enforcement officer's determination, thus denying the appeal. Is that correct?
Do it in the affirmative, right? So
You would make an affirmative motion to grant the appeal, and then you would, in effect, deny it by having a negative vote.
Got it.
You don't really need to.
You uphold the appeal, but we
You can
don't
do it either
deny
way.
it. We grant the variance.
Well, we have to do it in
That's on
two
the
steps.
So wouldn't, do we, so we have to,
So
Make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to uphold the zoning enforcement officer and deny the appeal, right?
And do it that way.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Who's voting?
Aye.
Sorry. It's fine, okay.
Who is voting? Let me get a note of it.
That's fine.
Jeff,
What are we
Jim,
doing? We're
Lisa.
so we're doing two separate things here?
Yeah.
We have to, so we're
Okay.
going to
So I
uphold
vote
Marcus.
A to uphold the zoning
Not Mark. Poor Mark.
enforcement officer.
Do you want
For the second part.
So it's two
Somebody's
different
not
motions?
comfortable with this.
Yes.
It's got to be unanimous.
And I'll make a motion to, for the variance request, to approve the variance request, given, what was the criteria that we based it on? Whatever the usual is.
Yeah.
Soil.
Lot shape.
Very well stated by non-voting member Poor.
And whatever we just mentioned, sorry, I'm slowing down here. Whatever we said before.
No further expansion.
No further expansion, thank you. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion's been made in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
One opposed. So one opposed.
Oh, you're opposed?
Was there any condition other than no further expansion? Okay, I thought I'd heard something else.
Well, we
but-
talked about the zoning shed, but we decided that.
I
Yeah.
don't think anybody had an issue with that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. I think the next one, I need to step off on. Do you want to take it, Susan? Sure.
What is that? Okay, so next up is 0718 115 Washington Street Extension LLC.
Good afternoon, Sarah Alger for the applicant. I wouldn't normally come and ask for this waiver of time, but the reason that I'm here asking for a reduction or elimination of the seasonal construction moratorium that's imposed in the special permit is kind of twofold. First, we're on the very edge of town, and second of all, we're separated from all other properties by that construction site that's currently ongoing. I think it's NIR doing all the construction.
The one that cut through road.
With the cut-through road. And so our thought is, if they have no constriction at all because they weren't a special permit project. They're just going to be building all summer long. We thought it made sense for us to try to get as much work done so that, because it will shorten the length of time that the project is under construction, quite honestly. Whereas if we have to stop for the summer and then take back up next fall, it could potentially extend this project not only all through next year, but another summer and then the following year.
Any abutter concerns?
There was one letter from an abutter in opposition. That abutter is separated from us by the NIR construction site.
So
I don't think it's going to, it's just going to be noisy down there, and I appreciate, an abutter's concerns. I absolutely do. I'm afraid that it's just going to be noisy in a construction site regardless of what we do. If you still have concerns about going through the summer, we would like to at least be able to go through June. We're happy to suspend for Memorial Day. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot that happens down there.
I would consider doing an extension with a hiatus the Thursday before Memorial Day, picking up the Tuesday after Memorial Day, and allowing construction for exterior construction through the month of June. I would be amenable to that.
So
And then starting back up again when?
Tuesday.
The
Labor
Tuesday
Day.
after Memorial Day. We've done that before, up into mid-June, but I would agree that that place down there doesn't get hot and heavy until probably after the yacht club really opens up.
So you're thinking
Well,
you would
the
still want
club's
to
open.
prohibit July and August?
I'm just saying that's a position that I could take very easily, but I'm only one individual here sitting on the board, so maybe that people are more generous.
Anyone
She
else?
offered it as an alternative.
She did.
I would agree to what Mark's proposing. I would not agree to remove the condition completely.
Okay. Karen, how do you feel?
I'm opposed. I just think we're hearing more of these coming in, and it's sooner or later people are just going to do the math on this and say, well, we should just do this because we're stuck or whatever. There's so many excuses that I'm hearing. I'm opposed to it, but that's just one vote.
For what it's worth, and I don't want to get into an argument with you because I can't disagree. I think the planning board has set a different standard date than you have, and their date is June.
That's a planning board.
Yeah, I'm just mentioning that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, and honestly, if it weren't for the fact that we're right next door to this ongoing multi-project construction site, I wouldn't have even suggested coming in.
I wouldn't have suggested being in favor of it either, if that wasn't going on.
Yeah. How do you feel, Jim?
I'm with Kieran on this. I don't really see a need, or I see the need, but I'm not really in agreement to extending this time.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak about this one? Okay. Mark, do you want to make a motion?
Is there any sort of compromise that either of you would?
But I guess my concern is not just somehow setting precedent here, but June 30th, it gets busy down there end of June, I know personally. I have boat business down there. And the yacht club is going. Kids are out of school the end of June. People are here. Maybe June 15th?
It's true. They access that site from Washington Street.
Right.
I
not
agree
like
with,
the
I'm
other
okay
site which
with
gets access
what
from
Mark
Indian
proposed on the Memorial Day, shutting it down, Memorial Day, opening it up now, that Monday after, and then maybe through June 15th. So, I understand the challenges
Yeah.
your
I mean,
client's facing, but
basically, I'll take whatever extra time I can get. So if June 15 is what you're willing to do, then
What
Yeah.
day is June 15th?
It's
on
a
the
Friday.
calendar?
I was just looking at it.
It's a Friday?
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
So that
Yeah.
makes sense. 'Cause
So that
I was
makes
going to say
sense.
the 20th, but
I-
that's a Wednesday. So that's
I would
the
agree
20th,
with that.
21st, 22nd. I feel like is when
And we're
Connecticut
restricting
shows up here.
exterior work, correct?
correct. Right. So we're going to try to get as much on at least one of them done on the exterior as we can, so we can work on the interior.
So it sounds like June 15th is a more
So June
acceptable.
15th with the 4-day Memorial
Memorial
Day hiatus.
yes, yeah.
Who
Yeah.
wants to
So
make
we
that?
stop when? Thursday?
Thursday at noon?
Prior to Memorial Day.
That's Memorial Day. I
We've
think
done that.
I think it's early
Right.
this year.
Right.
Monday the 28th?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm sorry, are we working Thursday?
You can we'll preface it till noon on Thursday. How's that?
Because at the moment, we can work through Friday.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So we're actually
But
losing those 2
you're
days.
Losing a day and a half if we preface it till noon on Thursday, but you're picking up the balance of.
I'm happy with
I
that.
think that's reasonable.
That's reasonable.
Okay.
So noon on.
Noon on Thursday, May 24th, and they can start back up on Tuesday, May
Tuesday morning.
29th,
Yep.
and then finish work, exterior work.
Seesaw exterior
Friday,
work
June
on
15th.
June 15th.
Okay.
At,
That's fine.
At end of
End of day.
7
Yeah.
o'clock or whatever that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Our working.
That's
All right, so
that's
who's-
reasonable.
Who's making that motion?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Second.
Okay. All those,
Can we just add due to the unique
Given the
circumstances
circumstances and the amount
of the construction going
in
on?
the adjacent neighborhood.
Yes.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay. Great. So, Eleanor, what are the planning board dates, Memorial dates?
Generally June 15th.
Where are we back to?
But what,
6:15 to what, to Labor Day?
I'm gonna
what was your
take a
point
break.
about
You
the
want?
planning board? They just have, there's different stuff in the planning board this year. Infrastructure.
It's all right.
Oh, he can't sit on this,
If you
Jeff.
want to take a few minutes,
Yeah, we'll take a few minutes.
if you need a minute, that's fine.
It's fine, we're good.
That's in person.
Okay, so we are
Yeah,
at
no, it's good to know.
0818 Martha W. Lewis, 5 York Street.
Good afternoon. For the applicant, Attorney John B. Brescher, representing Martha W. Lewis, the record title holder of 5 York Street. What we have before you this afternoon is a request under bylaw section 13933A1A in order to alter the pre-existing non-conforming structures on the locus. This one's a little bit interesting in that not so much that it's an undersized lot of record, having 4,414 square feet, in a district that requires 5,000 square feet, but that there is a primary and secondary dwelling on the property, and you can see the secondary dwelling actually has ZBA approval because it doesn't meet the scalar separation, and so it receives ZBA approval. But what and the structures are non-conforming, to add more fuel to it. Basically, the existing structure is non-conforming to its westerly lot line is at 0 feet, 1.6 from north, 2.4 from the east. It all requires 5 feet. But what we're planning on doing is demolishing the existing secondary dwelling, replacing the foundation with a crawl space, and then reconstructing and attaching the addition to the house. And as a result, it's only going to be 2.9 feet from the easterly lot line, which is less than the existing nonconformity. It's going to meet ground cover, having a ground cover ratio of only 30.4% when 50% is allowed. And then there will also be a few additions to the primary structure on the locus, specifically a deck, a stoop, and a shed dormer. along the rear roof plane of the primary structure, and the stoop's going to be outside this setback, but the deck is going to be 4.9 feet from the rear yard lot line. All this has been approved by the HDC. I realize that the site plan might be a little tricky. I have larger copies if you want to
Site
see.
plan, yeah, it's very hard to read.
Yeah,
It looks like the cottage is remaining, and you can't really see the square of the addition.
Sure. Let me
I think
get
this is what happens.
a larger.
I think that's
Yeah.
the addition. It's still hard to, oh, I see. This
Yeah.
is the addition.
Right, and it's all getting attached.
Okay, I got it.
So the
So
other
you're-
aspect.
I just want,
Sure.
you said you're further away from the setback than you currently are.
Correct. It's
Okay.
2.4 currently and 2.9.
Yes. And then all the other setbacks.
Right here is 429.
So you're picking up this other building and putting it on a foundation as well?
I don't believe so. I think it's just this. It's
Then how come these changed? That goes from 2.5 to 2.8, and this one goes,
Oh, perhaps so. I would refer to
yeah, it looks like it's shifting a little, maybe, I can't tell.
architects. But I also want to add that the secondary dwelling use is going to be eliminated in all of this.
Right.
So there isn't going to be another kitchen there. It's all going to be one single family
So
structure.
you're definitely going to demolish the existing secondary.
That's right.
building And the deck, and then you're going to put a big addition on.
That's right.
So my only
Yeah, it
question
must
is
be
the
moving, 'cause
clarification
it's
about,
3.2. It's 2.9 to 3.2.
yeah, moving
So
the
you're
other
adding
structure.
a whole lot of
2.5.
ground cover, right? So
And then
you're adding a
adding.
fair amount of ground cover.
But they're still compliant.
We're still only at 30.
We're not asking for relief. My
I-
biggest question, if you're going to be putting a foundation under this and shifting it, what happens along the westerly property line when it's right on the line?
See, I'll check. I don't believe the foundation was going under
With
that.
the 14-foot dimension?
I don't.
They're putting, existing dwelling with proposed additions, are they going to put a new foundation under the existing?
I don't believe they
dwelling?
are. I can confirm if
The
you
only
give me.
reason I was questioning
10
that, Jeff, is
seconds.
if you look at the existing conditions site plan
Mm-hmm.
to the proposed, the dimensions along the back change slightly. Only by inches, but it gets better. I mean, it gets further away from the property line.
Right.
But I'm just curious how that's happening.
14 feet, 1.6 plus or minus.
2.5, 2.9, 3.2, 2.8.
Maybe they're adding or removing something off of that L that goes towards the northerly property line. They're taking
I may be able
0.3
to
feet
get.
away. 2.5, and that goes to
Right,
2.8,
2.8.
and then this goes 2.9 to 3.2.
Does anything else change? But this remains 1.6.
That remains the same. So I don't know if maybe they're just
2.1.
chopping some part of that off?
So this is remaining the same, it's
Yeah.
just this piece.
It's just that piece. And then they're adding these additions, which are all compliant.
Right. And they don't really show us dimensions here.
But this is a deck.
So that's a deck.
But
and
is this compliant if it's 4.9?
No, so this is a new deck.
Yeah,
That's
right, proposed deck, and that's 4.9.
existing.
Yeah, here's the proposed though.
Yeah, that's right. So that new deck is going to be 4.9
And 2.1.
and 2.
So that's creating a little bit more of a nonconformity.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right here and here.
Sure.
And these are all compliant.
Right.
Oh, sorry, I just wrote on your plan. I guess Lisa already did before me, so. It's just weird. But it's getting more conforming.
It is. I would just say that, I mean, what we would do is, if we were inclined to approve this, approve it with the building staying in the location it's in. It looks like they must be shaving something
Right,
off, because you
yeah.
can see on the proposed plan, the heavy line comes
Right,
in a
yeah,
couple
yeah,
inches.
yeah.
Do you want me to get some clarity in about 5 seconds from
Sure.
Mr. Poor?
Oh, yeah, great.
Well, where it happens is where there used to be a window in the laundry room, and now that's going away, and it's becoming an owner's closet. That's exactly where the
That's where the location is?
that's where the location,
Okay.
the dimensional difference is. So,
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who came to speak about this one? Nope. Anybody have questions, comments?
Not really, just except do we care about this, this teeny
Right.
little deck here that's... has a setback issue.
Right. So there's that one little deck that's 4.0 feet. That has the 4.0, that's actually going to be in the setback.
That's right.
We could cure the backyard, the rear yard setback, because it's only a tenth of a foot.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be in the side yard setback.
What is that? There's like just a little door to get out there?
It must be a door, like a mudroom door. Yep. No, it's this one. There's no door.
There's no...
Oh, outdoor shower.
No, the outdoor shower is over here, I thought.
Well, what would you have a deck there
Right,
for?
I don't understand what that is for. Because there's the stoop.
There's like a little thing here, we don't know what it's for. Doesn't appear to have a
The
door
deck
to
with
it.
the outdoor shower is over this way. Or is that...
No, it's-
That's existing,
Existing.
sorry. So the proposed deck proposed
I mean, it
to-
looks like it's going to be that's the replacement outdoor shower.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that what it has?
It doesn't
No.
say, but it looks logical.
It looks
Oh,
like
so
it
you,
would be.
right, come out here, go
Yeah.
here, shower, right, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know that I have a huge issue with that,
I
but
don't really have a huge issue.
you can-
Do we have any mail on this?
no. I mean, you can put a fence on your property line.
Mhm.
What it does with the outdoor shower is the floor. So, that seems... What does everybody think?
I don't think I have any issues with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Anybody want to make a motion then? Is this in an area where we would restrict?
I was about to say, I mean, it is pretty close to Union Street. You're not Union Orange, so assume the typical construction moratorium would apply.
It's really tight down there. I would think that we would want to restrict that.
Yeah, the typical May 30th.
And a lot of people rent their houses down there, a lot of tenants.
It's a busy street.
I hear from them
Yeah, I bet you do.
every summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's totally reasonable.
Did you want to make that motion?
Sure. I make the motion to approve the relief as requested with the conditions that the exterior construction moratorium be present.
The second?
And what dates do we want?
The standard May
Memorial
30th.
Day.
Memorial, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay. The next one is 0918, 34 Western Ave. Mr. Cohen.
So I had said I had a conflict on this, but if Stephen doesn't have an objection, then I don't have a conflict. Okay. So I can sit or not sit, whatever, if someone else wants to sit. Okay.
Okay, Eleanor just made me promise not to say that this one is simple, so I won't.
I think she was going to get Mark, too.
Okay, I'll wait then.
Hey, you don't want to curse yourself by saying it's simple?
Okay.
So, I mean, actually, the lot itself is remarkably complex because it's in split zoning,
Mm.
but the question in front of you doesn't involve a lot of that. The application is only for a house of about 1,373 square feet, so we're underground cover. There's a existing house there, It is a pre-existing non-conforming house in the sense that it is was built with non-conformities that have since been grandfathered due to their age. It doesn't predate 1972, but but now under the new bylaw, those old encroachments and violations have been cured.
What are those? If I'm looking
The
at the
setback
plan.
violation.
This plan?
Yeah, I can't see that from here. But yeah.
Oh, I don't see it.
Right, that's the house that was proposed, but that's not what they built.
Okay, so where are the setbacks? What is, oh, this one?
Yeah.
So there's an, I see.
Correct, yeah.
Got
So
it.
it's a little piece of the house and then the basement stairs.
right, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so what my client proposes to do is essentially demolish or remodel the house in a way that maintains the setback encroachments. There's a small area of the house that is in the setback that's a two-story piece of the structure right now, and they'd like to replace it with a two-story piece of the new structure, and they would also like to maintain the basement access in that same location. A slightly different location, a couple of feet off, but essentially the same encroachment distance. They looked really hard at trying to do this without the encroachment, and the problem is the lot is super, super tight because there's a 30-foot front yard setback, and then there's, even though the lot is hundreds and hundreds of feet long, there's the Concom 50-foot buffer comes up very close. So they're not even able to build a house that's 1,500 square feet. They're really only able to get in this more modest house, and they're fine with the size of the house, but they'd like to try to maintain that setback encroachment. The owner next door on that side just bought the house from the same seller and is aware of what's going on and was just before you for their own relief. So, but it had got other relief through the administrator, but it's not going to be a surprise to anybody. So that's the relief that's requested, to either demolish and rebuild or to renovate. We'd rather demolish it, but if the board required reusing something, we could. But I don't know that it's
Why can't the areaway get shifted to where the air handlers are proposed to be?
And then put the air handlers further down?
Put the air handlers further down towards the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Could that happen?
So he's saying take this?
No, I was just looking at this brick. Yeah, I was just looking at.
You know what I mean, Matt?
there. Make that.
Put that where this is.
Bring these
Must
down
be
there.
because of a stoop or something that's there.
Yeah, put the areaway
Backdoor
where
stoop.
this is.
There is there a door?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't see it. There are no architectural plans, so I'm not sure what's going on.
I can show you. There is a door there. Maybe I'll slide it a little bit.
I don't know. Does anybody care about it? Does anybody?
I think if they could make it better, that'd be good. If it's just sliding it down, but
My preference would be if they're going to demolish and build new, that they take another look at that.
The setback.
There is a
Because they could just.
porch, but it doesn't quite.
They can't go any longer.
Kitchen,
Um,
and then right, and then a porch.
Yeah,
Mhm.
actually could put, as long as you could jam it in there.
Put that in
I
there.
don't see why we could, and I can't think of a reason right now why we couldn't do that. We would still need to find a home for the condensers.
Could we put the condensers in line?
With the stair, but further back?
Or we could just switch them, like where the condensers are, we could put the stair, and where the condensers are, I'm sorry, and where the stair is, we could put the condensers.
Right.
I don't know if condensers are less, you know.
Well, I think Mark brought up a point, though,
If you
the
tuck the
question of whether or
condensers in
not
there,
you're
could
actually
you landscape
demolishing
them?
this
Could
or
you hide
reusing
them?
it.
Well,
They give me a bit of a hard time about
the request is to demolish it, but I understand that the board may want to see a renovation instead, which, the HTC doesn't want to see.
So you could put this there, and why couldn't you put these there?
That's a deck.
Oh, these are steps, that's no railing?
No.
Looks like a railing.
Well, there's it's a nano wall, so it's basically a indoor-outdoor space. It's a
Oh,
one-story
this is a
porch.
nano wall.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
The idea was that originally it was just a porch, and I'm like, well, can we enclose it?
Mhm.
So we have the ground covered.
Right. Could you
So-
put them up here?
We could. Traditionally, HTC doesn't love the condensers in the front of the structure.
You don't like them in the setback.
Screen
No,
it.
I know, yeah.
If you,
Put a fence around them.
Well, they'll require a fence regardless of where they're located.
What were you requesting to do?
Oh, we'll take the AC, we'd put the basement stairs there, and then the condensers would kind of go up in this corner up in the entryway.
Land Bank owns this, is that right, Steve?
Yes.
And so there is like some room here. We're trying to jam them up against that wall, which we could do as well. So
I'd rather retain that setback. If you already have the encroachment on this one, I'd hate to put any encroachment on that side. But, so,
we'll see what the HGC, I mean, because I don't think we care whether it's here or here. I think our concern is just, if we can eliminate that at all.
Well, what if we do this, if we just allow for maintenance of the current setback encroachment and put the stairs and the AC somewhere in here? We'll work it out later.
you mean the current
Either
setback
way you
and
build it,
intrusion
demo or
of the
new building.
building,
Of the building, yeah.
not the areaway?
This does encroach here?
Do you think we can do
Yeah, that does. This is the setback.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably, the most critical thing is like the lockout. And so if we can get the lockout there, I think we can probably either come back or put the condensers along here. I'm guessing that we would probably come back to either move them here, provided I could get HTC approval for it. So if we get what Steve just said, I guess if we move the stair here and get approved here, right, I probably would be back just for the condensers.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, if we could have the flexibility to just keep it in this, in
Oh,
that
I
line.
got you.
Keep the condensers where
So
the
either goes
areaway
here
is
or
proposed
there.
now.
Because I don't know that
In
they
other
really
words, no
want.
portion of the structure comes closer than whatever that line
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
In any
Yeah.
case, you wouldn't have to
would be-
necessarily
They
come
wouldn't
back.
have to come back.
Yeah, that, I would
Right.
be
As far as
okay
we're
with that.
Do we know what that dimension is, the structure to the property line? Because we only have the areaway?
I think it's one right there.
No, that's to the areaway.
Oh.
Just curious if that shows up any place.
I think
No.
it's 1.6 feet.
No, but that's to the areaway.
That's the area way, right.
Yeah. Looks like it's about 5 feet. I mean, if you split the difference.
Well, you've got to have a code-worthy set of stairs down. Oh, is it a full basement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a 3-foot wide stair going down inside the areaway, so it's got to be at least 3 feet 8 to the outside of the areaway.
Yeah, it's about 5 feet to there. It's 10, and it looks like it's about halfway.
I mean, we can certainly have that.
Yeah, well, we'll just have that on the, as part of the decision, that it's getting no closer than the building that exists there, not the areaway.
Were those approved, John? Those HTC plans? or-
We were reviewed just recently, and it actually went pretty well. They had some minor suggestions.
So you're going back for revisions anyway, so you could propose this.
But as a whole, it was kind of fairly cosmetic things like railing, porch bracket.
And is this for new construction or for
Yes.
demo?
Yes.
Okay.
They actually already did approve the
Okay.
demo.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just a different kind of relief
Are
if
we
we do a
proposing-
renovation or a demo,
Right.
but it's
proposing,
particular 1980s monstrosity.
I'd rather see them
It's
do
not
a
a
demo
You'd rather see them do a demo?
than have to renovate.
Should we be saving a house with some paper?
Oh, the
Modern
Jacobs house.
house, yeah. We should
Yeah.
get saving that one.
This is not the Jacobs house.
Classic 70s movies.
Matt, do you want these?
Yeah, it is not. So if I followed that conversation correctly, it seemed like the board was open to the idea of granting relief for a demolition and then construction of a new house that wasn't any closer than the current side yard of the building, as a side setback intrusion of the building, but not including the area well.
Right,
Is that
relocation of the
correct?
area well and the AC condensers. And-
With a survey plan to be submitted to demonstrate that
Where's Western Ave?
As an exhibit.
as an exhibit. Yeah.
Oh, Surfside.
Okay, is everybody in agreement with that? Anybody want to make that motion?
I'm okay with it. How are we gonna, so they don't have to come back? Just,
Not if they get, not if the
No portion of the
HTC,
structure or any parts thereof could be closer to the lot line than that particular facade.
Yeah.
That exists.
including the condensers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it. We normally want people to get HTC approved plans.
Well, they will eventually have them.
Yeah, we're at the HCC now, and like Matt said, it's windows and doors.
And they were minor.
The only thing I want to say no setback encroachments as opposed to nothing, because I don't know if we have to put a fence around it, that might be a couple inches in or something.
Fence doesn't count as encroachment.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't want it to.
Fence around what?
The
air handlers.
Around the air handlers. Doesn't count as encroachment.
Right.
Well, you wouldn't have to, the fence around the air handlers wouldn't.
Right, so Stephen's saying he
The
wants it to
air
say
handlers are
no
much narrower than
encroachments,
the,
Not no
not
structures.
say no.
If we word it
Well,
wrong,
fence
Marcus
isn't a
will come.
structure,
Right,
so we don't
Marcus will
go
come
there.
back and say the air handler fence
not
can't be in
over
the
60
setback. So I just want, but I'll work that out with Eleanor.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have to be, though.
Okay. So
Okay, do
Better
we have
safe
a
than
motion?
sorry, though.
Who wants to make it?
I thought didn't someone make it?
No, but I will.
asking.
Yeah. Take it over for you then. I'll make that motion to approve, well, what's the motion going to be then?
Approve as requested, but we got to put in some sort of clause that indicates
I mean, it'd be-
HDC
yeah.
drawing.
Well, it's
approved.
not
be-
as requested.
It is
It's
as
supposed to
modified.
be requested.
As modified.
Yeah, the request is to-
I don't think we need to see the HTC drawings. I think the only thing is, and it would be cleaner, I agree, if we could get a Bracken plan that gave us a dimension to that wall, and then we had that.
yeah, that could be
Yeah.
required as an
It's
exhibit.
not modified because he asked for both. He said demo or alter.
No, we're talking about the breezeway, the areaway not being in the
areaway,
the
setback.
areaway.
Oh, I see.
That
That's
is
the
modified.
modification from what he's requested.
Yeah.
So we make, so the relief would be then, I don't know what the relief would be. It's, because the areaway is getting completely shifted, so.
The relief would be to allow the demolition and reconstruction of a new house where the.
The new house is no closer to the western property line than the existing house
structure.
is.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Not the existing
structure.
areaway, the
The
existing house.
existing
right?
structure.
Right.
Yeah.
And that the areaway will be located within the boundaries of the buildable portion of the lot.
There you go. Okay, there you go.
I knew we'd get something out. I'll second that.
No, not within the boundaries of the buildable portion of the lot, within the boundaries of the, inside of the,
That is the buildable portion of the lot. You can't build in the setbacks.
But isn't the house already
No,
in
here
the setback?
we are. We're talking about moving
Already
it
over
to.
the setback.
Isn't the areaway when it goes in,
No.
is it still encroaching?
Still
Yeah, it's
encroaching.
next to
Yeah.
the other encroachment.
Oh, it's next to the, okay.
Yeah, it's
apologies
about
for that.
halfway
Instead of-
into the
yeah,
setback.
Okay,
instead
Are
of
you still
stacking
okay
I thought it
with-
was moving out because of the new construction. They're
But
not
you're still
moving out.
okay with the
Yeah,
demolition
I'm
and
still okay with
reconstruction?
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Still okay.
yeah. So it's just that no structure will be any closer to the western property line, including areaway and air conditioning condensing units.
as existing.
As evidenced by
existing.
Exhibit A from Bracken Engineering, giving us a dimension from the property line to the existing structure prior to
Yes.
construction.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Yeah,
Great.
with
Thanks.
the decision.
right, to be filed with the decision.
Yep. Okay,
Okay.
Jeff made that motion.
I'll second.
Oh, there we go.
Whatever.
Karen
Take a second.
seconds. You want to vote, Mark?
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I wasn't on it.
Okay. Thank
I
you
was
very much.
making noise.
Losing energy fast.
Where's your Snickers bar, man?
You need a little espresso machine.
You know what? I have some chocolate. I can find it. Hang on, we'll take a little.
I have tangerines, cuties, if someone wants
I
one.
actually bought some peanut M&Ms.
So this is the alternative.
I'm confused.
We can't eat
Right.
those.
Oh, we got
I'm
Mac Daddy?
allergic.
No, what's
Yeah, it's a new Mac Daddy.
You guys want any peanut
Sure,
butter?
yes, right here.
Okay, so are we ready?
Yes.
70, this is file number 10-18, 72 Monomoy Road, Mac Daddy Trust.
Jeff.
Okay, Stephen Cohen for the applicant. So as you're aware, we withdrew the prior application, and I want to continue this application, so I want to tell you up front that I'm not going to ask you to discuss it or decide on it, but I just wanted to give you the 2-minute version of where we are. So the cottage that was proposed last time has essentially been eliminated. We're just going to do a house and a shed, and the existing house, due to a tragedy of errors, is 22 square feet over the allowable ground cover for this area, but it's actually about 400 square feet or less than the prior structure, which was already over. So the variance request is to approve the house essentially as built. The neighbors have recently suggested that they would like some accommodations, and I'd like some time to work that out with them. So I want to continue to next week. My only purpose next month, sorry. My only purpose in opening was that if the board had any immediate concerns or questions, that I could gather additional information. I would be willing to able to do that efficiently.
Okay, so.
Would you give me that again, the real condensed version?
Yeah, exactly.
The existing house was over ground cover by about 400 square feet.
Right.
That was demolished
Yeah.
and then rebuilt. And the rebuilt house is over by about 22 square feet. So we need variance relief for that because we would have been able to do it by special permit if it hadn't already been demolished.
Yeah.
But because it was demolished before the
How
application,
did it end up going 24 square feet over ground?
well, because they thought they were under, they thought that they had the other 400 square feet to work with. They didn't understand.
What was
But
that
they gave up
400?
that right, they didn't understand it. When they demolished, they gave up the right.
Well, yeah, that's not a legal justification, but the error, there were a number of errors made. The architect believed that you got the ground cover based on the minimum lot size, not the actual lot size, which is of course not true, and that gave extra numbers. And then they also thought that the grandfathering amount was solid and didn't necessarily need relief to be carried forward. There were a number of problems, but the real problem is that they were able to obtain a demolition and building permit from the zoning enforcement officer with a number of errors in it, and then did it. You know, like, it's not Marcus's fault that he gave the permit with mistakes in it, but the gating process that should have said, don't demolish this building because you are proposing something that's not conforming didn't happen. So Marcus missed that, which is, you know, not his responsibility. There was errors in the materials. And now we're stuck with, we've missed the opportunity to get a special permit and need variance relief, and so that's where we are.
What was withdrawn?
The application last time was to cut off a piece of the uphill lot to create a conforming lot and then use that ground cover. So it was, it would have created a conforming lot and given the ability to do the cottage. So they have abandoned the cottage.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, it's much simpler.
And replaced it with, it was about a 348 square foot cottage, and it's now just being replaced with an ordinary 200 square foot shed.
Zoning shed.
Zoning shed, yeah.
And you're rebuilding, they're rebuilding the cottage?
No, they're abandoning the...
Okay.
It's not even part of this application.
Correct. Yeah, it is, they're greatly disappointed by the situation. So, and again, I, as a courtesy to the abutters, don't want to get too deep into this in terms of getting a decision from you or asking you to make a decision. I really just want to know if you, when we come back, would like to see more information, that I have the time to get.
I think, you know, in general, in the past, we've liked to see all the information that led up to the issuance of the building permit.
Okay.
The building permit application.
The application.
Yeah, I think that's nice, and I think, you know, whether you work out an agreement with the abutters doesn't really matter
That
much
may
to
be in the
us.
packet, by the way. I gathered all of that.
I think it is, but it's quite a packet, so I'll see if I can cull through it and simplify it for you.
It might be in the original packet that
Is there
I'm
any-
looking
No, it's
at.
in this packet. I left that in there for the previous.
No, I meant though, is it under the old business that got continued?
Oh.
So the old business that, the previous application.
They got withdrawn, excuse
It
me.
was withdrawn. I did actually include the entire
Yeah.
materials because I knew that they were related, so.
Okay.
So do we, not that I need someone to fall on the sword or whatever, but do we have anything from the architect saying, oops, I totally made all
I mean,
these mistakes?
I could get that, but I think that the building application actually has demonstrable mistakes in it that, you know.
That's why I wanted to see that,
Okay.
because I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
The comedy of errors.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's I just think it's,
Yeah.
I didn't look at that because we knew it was going to be continued.
Listen, the homeowner doesn't think it's funny, but in addition to their actual misunderstanding, some of those are demonstrated in the information submitted with the building.
Okay.
So we're happy to, you know, point that out for you.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. That's why I opened. I wanted to be prepared.
Any audience?
Is anybody here to speak to this?
No, I'll hold off.
You're representing the abutter.
Sarah, I'll represent the abutters. I just.
Okay. So I'd like to request a continuance to the next meeting then.
Make the motion to continue.
A
till-
second.
What was the date?
April 12th.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
All
aye.
five of you voting on that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Aye.
aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And happy International Women's Day, too.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. No one knows anymore.
Oh, did he? I'd love to see how he did that.
Great
fine
day.
with me.
We're useless.
Okay,
How
so,
he's empowered all these women.
yeah.
Just to give you guys a quick preface, this is something you approved last month, but after the meeting ended, I was like, I recollect the last time we did this in November 2015. There was a whole lot of things I had to do to advertise, and I thought maybe it wasn't necessary since it was a modification, but then I went and checked. So in terms of our local statute, there are requirements when you modify particular bylaws and regulations pertaining to a particular board. So it turns out my suspicion was right. So I'm sorry to make you do this again, but it's basically ratification of the vote to approve the modification to the comprehensive rules and regs, governing 40B applications. And what I will do then, if you choose to approve it again, I will publish it in paper. I'm not going to publish the actual document, but I'm going to publish notice to the public, and they can request to see it if they want, and then it will be put on will be filed with the town clerk and put on the website. And I will attach it to the comprehensive permit application that I created, which is now up on the website.
And I think the only question.
And if we don't approve it, it means no more 40Bs on it?
Yeah.
The only real question was the language of having a deadline on the peer review, of getting the money for the peer review, right?
Right.
That was a little bit of a debate, but, okay. Does anybody want to make the motion to adopt the regulations, or?
Well, we adopted in the last meeting. Is it to ratify the vote of the last meeting?
A clean vote.
Clean vote.
Meaning just
A new vote.
Somebody make a motion.
make a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Unless it's somebody else.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks.
And we adjourn here?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Nice. Sweet board.